Chapter 1347. Blood splattered everywhere. 6 fists landed on their respective targets, none of them missing. The giant god stood tall like a mountain, unmoving. The demon dragon's body shook and he took 3 big steps back, while Yu Yang was sent flying. The giant god raised his arms to the sky, and his divine power condensed into a guillotine, which floated above the demon dragon's neck. With just a thought, the demon dragon's body could be split in half. The demon dragon, who was covered in blood, did not retreat. Instead, he laughed like a madman. Huh! The giant god was confused at first, but he was shocked to find that a sword had pierced through his heart. When did the sword pierce into his body? Why did it pierce through his heart? What kind of sword was this? He reached out and was about to pull the sword out, but the demon dragon was rolling on the ground in laughter. He was laughing so hard that tears were almost rolling down his cheeks. It was not easy. He finally tricked the light guardian divine lord. If this guy was not so confident, maybe. The giant god looked back in shock. His golden pupils dilated several times. What he saw was the head of a raging dragon. The raging dragon opened its huge mouth. It did not allow the enemy to struggle or resist. It swallowed him whole, including the divine power guillotine in the sky. Without the support of the divine throne, even an existence like the light guardian divinity would be defeated under the joint attack of the demon dragon and Yu Yang. The raging dragon swallowed the giant god, shook its head, rushed into the sky, and disappeared into the ancient passage. It's done. Yu Yang had returned and asked in surprise. It should be done. The demon dragon was not confident. Although the raging dragon swallowed the enemy, the opponent was still the Radiance Mountain's big boss. The divine lord over there doesn't seem to have dissipated. Yu Yang, who had a huge fist mark on his chest, touched his ribs. He was about to heal his internal injuries when he suddenly realized that the divine lord held back by the 2 dragons was still there. He could not help but scream. It doesn't seem. The demon dragon's eyes darkened. What do you mean? Yu Yang swallowed a mouthful of saliva in fear. It means that it's not done, and we have to do it again. The demon dragon's face was the same. Again? Yu Yang felt as if his entire body was about to fall apart. If he did it again, it would be strange if he didn't turn into dust. Out of confidence in the demon dragon, he asked, "Do you still have a trump card?" "If I did, I would have used it earlier." The demon dragon rolled his eyes. "Damn, then what are we doing?" Yu Yang was speechless. "We have no choice but to do it. Even if we don't want to do it, I'm afraid others won't agree to it." The mystic dragon gulped nervously. He realized that the giant god had returned. "We have to. Even if we don't want to, the others won't agree." The demon dragon gulped nervously. He realized that the giant god had returned. The giant god and the divine lord merged again. The divine lord emitted 1 billion rays of divine light, bathing the giant god in it. The invisible internal injuries of the giant god were healed. At the same time, the giant god's body was strengthened by 100 times. The giant god's body was renewed and improved. "Your trump card isn't good. It's not even a trump card." The world traveler could not help but complain. "I can't do it." "Do it if you can." The demon dragon was angry. The trump card was not good, and this was not what he wanted. The demon dragon devours the world was a move that could destroy everything. However, the guardian divinity on the other side not only had the divine lord's divine lord, but he was also half the owner of the ancient passage. The demon dragon devours the world could not unleash its true power here. Moreover, the giant god's strength was so abnormal that he could withstand the attack with his body. What else could he do? Now it seemed that just stripping the divine lord's divine lord was not enough. He still had to avoid the ancient passage, which was considered the opponent's home ground. Otherwise, there was no way to continue this battle. The giant god was not angry. His expression was calm, as if the one who had been beaten down by the mystic dragon and Yu Yang was not him, but someone else. He slowly stepped forward and walked in front of the mystic dragon and Yu Yang. For the first time, he bowed slightly in greeting. "You are worthy of this bow." The giant god nodded with a solemn expression. "From now on, I admit that all of you are my opponents, including you, Titan Yu. I should not have viewed you as an insignificant insect. You possess courage and viciousness beyond imagination, as well as strength beyond imagination. I have misjudged you. You are actually a formidable foe that is no less dangerous than the demon dragon. So this young master is actually so awesome." Yu Yang was very pleased with himself when he heard this. Mo Long, who was beside him, almost couldn't breathe. "Yes. Everything about you is hidden behind the demon dragon. If not for your attack just now that almost damaged my divinity, I would still be in the dark. Your sword has a special power of destruction. It is not very powerful and seems to have yet to be perfected, but it is already undeniable and unstoppable. This sword chi that is close to eternity is the most special sword I have ever encountered. It is really hard to imagine that you could cultivate such a divine sword that others could not even cultivate for thousands of years at such a young age." The giant god mused to himself for a moment before suddenly speaking. "Although I can't tell, I have reason to suspect that you have a master or a caretaker behind your back, and perhaps more than one. Young Titan Yu, your future is limitless. As long as you agree to one condition, I can guarantee that I will not pursue the matter, and both you and the abyssal dragon would be spared." "What condition?" Yu Yang's eyes brightened. "If there was no need to die, who would be willing to die for nothing? As long as the two of you stay here for a year, I can guarantee that I will not pursue the matter. I can even evolve a new divine throne for the two of you." The guardian god of light looked sincerely at Yu Yang. "Did we hit you just now?" Yu Yang asked worriedly. "I also hit you, so we are even." The giant god waved his hand to show that he was open-minded. "You really don't want to fight us?" Yu Yang decided to ask clearly to avoid regret. "I can't be sure if there is a guardian behind you." The giant god was frank. "I don't want to become enemies with the higher-ups. There is no benefit to me if I do that." Just like the demon dragon, he would not have been stripped of his divine throne if he did not commit some unforgivable crime. "What if I don't have a guardian behind me?" Yu Yang was worried that the guardian god of light would turn hostile if he was exposed. "You don't have one now, but it doesn't mean that you won't have one in the future. If the higher-ups knew about such an outstanding child like you, they would be extremely happy." The giant god's words were worth 1,000 gold, and he comforted Yu Yang with kind words. "I don't really want to fight, but I can't make the decision." Yu Yang threw this hot potato to the demon dragon. "Don't you have a boss?" "You bastard, you only think of the boss when you have to take the blame." The demon dragon felt that he was going crazy. "Isn't that what the boss does?" Yu Yang asked weakly. "Since I am the boss, then things are simple. One word, fight." The demon dragon was very unhappy with Yu Yang's current expression. "Are you crazy?" Yu Yang's eyes widened. "He still wants to fight in this situation? Isn't this like hanging himself? Is he looking for death? That's not how a boss should be, okay? If we don't fight, we will die even faster. Don't you see that he is testing your reaction and breaking your fighting spirit?" The mystic dragon sneered. "Now that you've let him find out that there's no one behind you, your fighting spirit has almost collapsed. It's fine if you don't fight, but in the next second, he will kill you with one hand. Negotiating with an enemy who is stronger than you is the stupidest thing to do. It's no different from asking a tiger for its skin. No way? The other party seems to be very sincere." Yu Yang turned to look at the giant god. With just a glance, he could not continue. "Don't worry, I won't kill you." The giant god shook his head gently. "Because I still can't see if there is someone behind you. But the demon dragon must be killed. I will not let a threat continue to live. What do you think I am? You want to kill me just like that? The demon dragon suddenly remembered. I have someone protecting me too. Who? Yu Yang asked in surprise. The supreme dragon god. The demon dragon answered unconfidently. Are you sure? All right. Yu Yang no longer held any hope in his heart. Counting on a person who had his divine throne removed and sealed for 100,000 years to protect him was really impossible. No wonder the mystic dragon's voice sounded so diffident. Haha, if that's the case, I will take the risk of being punished by the supreme dragon god to test the truth. Maybe the supreme dragon god will send an envoy to thank me for helping him capture and execute the fugitive. The giant god laughed wildly. He felt that the funniest joke in the world paled in comparison to this. It should be known that the supreme dragon god was the one who judged and sealed the demon dragon, the #1 villain in the heaven realm. Now, the demon dragon dared to say that his boss was the supreme dragon god. Was he not afraid of being laughed at by the world? Damn it! The demon dragon's face darkened. Even if he did not believe it, there was no need to laugh so wildly. I believe you, really. Yu Yang was afraid that the demon dragon would hang himself, so he quickly pretended to believe it. However, the expression on his face did not cooperate well, which made the demon dragon even angrier. Since there is no one at the top, then things are simple. The giant god stopped smiling. Billions of divine power turned into countless meteors, densely covering the entire ancient passage. In every inch of space there were meteors. Any collision of the meteors would erupt with the power of a planet exploding. These were not the most terrifying. What was even more terrifying was that the giant god's fists turned into 2 huge dragon heads. Each of them was 10 times bigger than the angry dragon that the demon dragon had condensed just now. As long as he waited for the best opportunity, this dragon head would burst forth with a power that was even more terrifying than the demon dragon devours the world, swallowing both the demon dragon and Yu Yang. The demon dragon gritted his teeth and charged forward, his body withstanding the attack of the countless meteors. At the same time, he also fought for an opportunity for Yu Yang, who was preparing to counterattack. 2 dragons, one in front and one behind. The demon dragon roared wildly. The demon dragon roared crazily. His body returned to his original form, becoming a 3,000-meter-long black dragon. He coiled around the 2 smaller dragons and rose into the sky together. At the Dome of Euphoria, he fell down and attacked the giant god below. The giant god's eyes were filled with fanaticism and joy. He was waiting for this move. Almost at the same time when the black dragon swallowed him, his body also expanded endlessly. In the end, his original form returned to a 4,000-meter-tall ancient slaughterer with extremely strong muscles. He leaped into the sky and jumped higher than the black dragon. He grabbed the black dragon with both claws and swung his head down right in the middle of the black dragon's shoulder, hitting the dragon's nose. He grabbed the dragon's horn with both claws and forcefully pulled it down. However, the black dragon's reaction was extremely fast. He had already coiled around the golden ancient slaughterer''s body. Just as the 2 giant beasts were fighting each other crazily, a divine power of destiny soared into the sky. The divine power of destiny that was close to the height of the giant of destiny condensed in Yu Yang's hands into a hammer of destiny that could produce endless power. The 9 weapons of destiny appeared for the first time. The appearance of the hammer of destiny made the golden ancient slaughterer, who had returned to its original form, feel that something was wrong. Unfortunately, it had no chance of regretting now. The black dragon used all its strength and swept its tail fiercely at the elemental god throne that was in the shape of a small sun with hundreds of planets revolving around it. The elemental god throne shook for an extremely short period of time. Perhaps it did not even take a 10,000th of a second before the elemental god throne was cut off. So you're a gorilla. Come, I'll give you a banana to eat. Yu Yang had held it in for too long. He couldn't wait to raise the hammer of destiny in his hands and seize the best opportunity to hit the golden ancient slaughteler's forehead with the hammer. Chapter 1348. The golden ancient slaughterer, who had reverted to its original form, felt dizzy after being hit by the hammer. However, it quickly recovered and roared. Its protective divine power immediately sent Yu Yang flying. "You're still so arrogant after being hit by the hammer of fate's divine power? Who do you think you are? Even the Radiance Mountain would have a corner broken after being hit by this hammer." Yu Yang knew that this was not the only effect of the hammer. It was just that his opponent was trying to save face by taking it head-on. The power of the hammer of fate had just begun. Yu Yang had been waiting for a long time. Once he made his move, he used the other weapons of the 9 weapons of fate. The sword of fate, which represented justice, descended from the sky and pierced deeply into the golden ancient slaughterer's head. The divine power tempest that the giant god had spewed out was caught by the shield of fate that appeared later. Under the shield of fate that protected the heaven and earth, the divine power tempest that engulfed the heavens and earth became ineffective for the first time, dissipating in vain. Immediately after, the whip of fate that represented evil retribution wrapped around the enemy's neck, while Yu Yang smashed down with the staff of fate that represented judgment of life. In an instant, the golden ancient slaughterer, who was the guardian god of light, was beaten up by Yu Yang. It cried out in pain. The black dragon, who was fighting the enemy, was sweating profusely. He could not help but say, "Idiot, why are you hitting him? He's not a brainless gorilla. He's just a god in the form of a gorilla, and he has a throne. He'll recover soon. What's the point of hitting him?" That's right. Yu Yang felt as if he was suddenly enlightened. His opponent was not an ancient slaughterer. He was a god. It was just that his original form was in the form of an ancient slaughterer. No matter how badly he was injured, he would recover quickly. What was the point of fighting? The man from another world immediately changed his target and smashed the staff of fate towards the elemental thrones that were densely packed with planets and spinning rapidly. Amidst the rumbling explosion, one of the planets shattered. The shockwave affected the rotation of the surrounding planet. The elemental thrones that were helping its owner recover were disrupted and stopped for a second. The third young master was overjoyed that his attack had such a miraculous effect. Immediately afterward, he temporarily abandoned the staff of fate in his hand and switched to another divine weapon of fate. The staff of fate specialized in judgment of life. Although it was effective against the elemental throne, it wasn't optimal. Hammer and sword in hand, Yu Yang pounced down like a ferocious tiger. Freeze! The giant god who had reverted to his golden primordial slaughterer hurriedly abandoned his battle with the demon dragon and focused his full attention on the titan Yu who possessed the destiny divine weapon. He filled the entire ancient passageway with divine power and fused with the ancient will here. As half the master, he issued orders to stop time and confine space. Roar, roar, roar! The black dragon that the mystic dragon had transformed into did not completely stop, but its speed was as slow as a tortoise. In terms of divine power, he, who had been sealed for 100,000 years and had yet to return to his peak, was no match for the light guardian divinity. Moreover, this was the opponent's home ground. The black dragon that was tangling with the enemy was quickly torn apart by the opponent's giant claws and thrown far away. Although there was a struggle, the golden primordial slaughterer's sharp claws tore the black dragon's body and blood splattered everywhere. That terrifying bloody mouth spat out a divine power bomb that was comparable to a small sun, causing the black dragon to be dizzy and unable to retaliate. "I'll eat you! So what if you are a genius with a divine sword and a divine weapon of fate? Here I am the master." The giant god who had transformed into the golden primordial slaughterer waved its claws at Yu Yang who had stopped in midair. "Dream on!" Yu Yang suddenly moved. In a situation where time and space had completely stopped, he moved in an unbelievable manner. On his finger, the ring of destiny, which represented free will since birth, was shining. As long as the ring was present, the wearer and the owner would never be imprisoned or imprisoned. This was the greatest willpower that Yu Yang had comprehended in the Trials Grimoire. It was the greatest enlightenment that the three oracles of destruction, creation and eternity had imparted to him. Under the eternal willpower of Yu Yang, no one's destruction could destroy it, and no one's creation could be eternal. This was the greatest explanation of free will that the Ring of Fate had. You want to destroy my throne? Go to the lost world and enjoy your endless journey. When the giant god saw that the kid could still move, he quickly combined the divine power that filled the entire ancient passage with the ancient laws. In an instant, the entire world became a strange and absurd world. Here, birds swam under the water, fish flew in the sky, mazes and mistakes filled the entire world, obstacles and confusion were everywhere. Not only could he see with his eyes, even his soul could feel the changes in his surroundings. This is a war beast. The Mo Long originally wanted to remind Yu Yang, but when he shouted, his voice strangely became, "This is delicious, delicious." The mystic dragon drowned the mystic dragon with an avalanche of wine and towering chunks of meat. On the other hand, it was the opposite for Yu Yang. He had entered a world of mirrors. The endless refraction and reflection of light made it impossible for Yu Yang to see the real path. Furthermore, in every mirror, there was a resentful spirit or a mischievous little ghost. They were making faces or pointing the wrong direction, trying their best to tease Yu Yang, who had fallen into confusion. Yu Yang also knew that this was the special skill of the war beast, and with the help of the opponent's divine power. But while he understood, his eyes could not see through the truth. Even Heaven Eye's divine vision could not, because this was the home field of the guardian divinity, the ancient passage that he had fused with his will. Here, there could be countless truths or none at all. As long as the giant god willed it, the truth could appear at any time, and it could disappear at any time. Before Yu Yang's divine power and will could suppress the opponent, and before there was no special war beast that could restrain the opponent's confusion war beast, this world was basically an endless and unbreakable mysterious world. You forced me to use my ultimate skill. Yu Yang did not move. He knew that if he moved, he could fall into the opponent's wide-open mouth. Under the ridicule of thousands of mirror imps, Yu Yang took out a pearl, the Pearl of Fate. This was also one of the 9 weapons of fate. It represented the guidance of wisdom, destroying obstacles and breaking mysteries. Not only did it contain Yu Yang's own understanding, but it also contained the wisdom of Shui Wuxia and many other treasures, such as the Book of Truth, the Gemini Temple, the Will of the Virgo Temple, his mother's inheritance of knowledge, the Trials Grimoire, and so on. The Pearl of Fate was formed by the fusion of countless wisdom. It was a divine pearl that pointed directly to the truth and eternity. In the sky, the light of wisdom fell. It paved a path of fate. It was as gentle as a rainbow. Yu Yang cleared his distracting thoughts and stepped onto the path of fate. After just 3 steps, the obstacles and confusion in the entire space were completely destroyed, disappearing and ceasing to exist. The giant god could not help but exclaim when he saw his confusion divine beast turn into a wisp of smoke and return to the grimoire. If not for the fact that it was a guardian war beast that could not be killed or destroyed, the confusion divine beast would probably have been destroyed by the light of wisdom of the Pearl of Fate. If that's the case, then take this. The giant god wanted to continue stopping Yu Yang, but Yu Yang's expression was as calm as the surface of a clear lake. Do you think that the sword I nailed into your head only has the power to make you feel pain? What? The giant god was stunned. Didn't he send the sword flying? It was just a mosquito bite. Could there be any repercussions? My sword of fate is the righteous judgment of my enemies. Yu Yang turned around and did not look at the giant god again. If a person's righteousness is too strong, the sword of fate will not only not harm him, but it will also help and protect him. However, if it's the opposite, then the person being judged must bear all his sins with both his body and soul. There's no exception even if you're a god. How can mere pain affect me in the slightest? The giant god did not only feel pain in his body, but even his soul was in extreme pain. However, he was not afraid at all because of his boundless divine power and the recovery of the godly throne. He persisted in the battle. Is that so? Yu Yang turned around and suddenly held a divine seal in his hands. Teach this is? The giant god could not help but jump in shock when he saw it. This divine seal was formed by the divine power of fate. It was extremely similar to the legendary Nirvana sealing god, but its power was slightly weaker. If he was hit by this divine seal head-on, if he let this terrifying divine power of fate pull his soul and pull him into the Nirvana sealing god's black hole, then the giant god quickly recovered from his golden primordial slaughterer form. His body was too huge and could not avoid the divine seal's attack at all. However, after turning into an 8-meter-tall giant, everything was much simpler. The giant god sneered. If I can't hit you, your divine seal is equivalent to trash. Yu Yang looked at the demon dragon who had recovered, and then looked at the giant god in front of him. Why don't we try? The demon dragon looked at the divine seal and felt his scalp go numb. Although he was the brat's boss, this divine seal did not recognize anyone. Whoever was hit by it would be unlucky. He stood far away and did not dare to approach at all. He also understood that Yu Yang's glance meant for him to stand further away. This brat probably could not completely control the divine seal's sealing power. Once he attacked, he would definitely attack without distinguishing between friend and foe. Ring, 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 ring. The giant god casually summoned another battle beast. It was not in the form of an animal, but a special battle beast in the form of a ring. The moment this battle beast appeared, it stood in front of Yu Yang and his master. As it spun, the demonic dragon had a strange feeling. No matter how Yu Yang attacked, the divine seal would not hit the light guardian divinity's head. Instead, it would hit the ring that was slowly spinning. This battle beast was clearly a sacrifice. Its only purpose was to take a fatal blow for its master. It would trap all the enemy's attacks into the ring. Yu Yang saw such a strange yet effective battle beast and could not help but be stunned for a second. When it came to using battle beasts, these old ghosts who had lived for tens of thousands of years were indeed terrifying. They were the real summoning experts. They would not easily summon battle beasts to participate in battle, but once they were summoned, it would definitely be the beginning to win or reverse the unfavorable situation. Whether it was the Confusion Divine Beast, just now, or the Strange Ring now, Yu Yang had a special understanding of battle experience. I also have battle beasts, and not just one. Yu Yang might not have many other things, but he definitely had a lot of battle beasts. An extremely beautiful divine light shot out. In Yu Yang's hand it changed into a pair of swords. He pierced through the air, and mysteriously and wonderfully pierced through the ring. The sword Qi directly pierced the giant god's heart. The giant god's eyes widened. Humanoid divine weapon? And it seemed to be a humanoid divine weapon transformed from an Eastern immortal beast? What was this? The legendary pair of lovebirds. Chapter 1349. The sword Qi emanated from the throne. Although Yu Yang's sword had pierced through the mystical ring, it was still ineffective. The throne behind the giant god had completely replaced and nullified the ambush. However, the lovebirds were a pair, and Yu Yang's attack was not as simple as a single sword Qi. As the giant god looked down at his own heart in shock, another beam of divine light appeared in Yu Yang's hand and turned into a bow. A shooting star streaked across the sky. It glided through the mystical ring and nailed itself between the giant god's brows. Not bad, but that's not enough. The giant god laughed out loud. The throne behind him was unaffected. The sword and the arrow had both penetrated through the sun god orb, and the 4 elemental orbs were still operating. Although the power of the throne was slightly reduced, it did not affect its normal operation and functions. Although Yu Yang's sword and arrow were sharp and effective in attacking the enemy, their power was still lacking compared to the Abyssal Dragon's 6 dragons' counterattack. Damn, this turtle shell is too hard. When the demon dragon saw this, he sighed dejectedly. They had already fought to this extent, but unfortunately, they still couldn't defeat the Light Guardian divinity. It wasn't that he and Yu Yang weren't strong enough, but that damned great god was too abnormal. Ha! Just as the giant god was laughing proudly, there was a sudden shout. An adorable lowly serpent demon jumped out. She raised her tender little hand. Swinging her blade, she slashed at the giant god in front of her, instantly freezing the mystical ring. Behind her, the stone element Medusa, the storm mermaid, the thunder naga, and the frost serpent demon all appeared in a flash. They could not wait to attack, unleashing their most powerful attacks at the giant god, hoping to lend their master a hand. The giant god was not afraid, but a 6-armed serpent demon statue looked down from the sky. It glared at the giant god. This time, even with the abyssal dragon, the giant god could not resist. His entire body and the abyssal dragon were both frozen by the binding talent and rule. Scram, all of you scram! The giant god realized that he had only paused for half a second under the snake demon statue's angry glare, but it was in this half a second that the opponent had completed all the attacks. Even the demon dragon, who was watching from afar, unleashed a solitary dragon soars. The giant god did not know how many attacks he had suffered. He only knew that the seal of fate smashed on his forehead was the most painful, and his soul was almost extinguished. Fortunately, the Pantheon was still there, taking most of the power of fate in his place, allowing his soul to narrowly escape. You idiot! When Mo Long saw that Yu Yang still wanted to use the prison emperor divine seal that was said to be used to smash chestnuts, he couldn't help but roar, I already said that smashing him is useless, quickly smash that damn divine throne. F***ck, why didn't you say so earlier? Yu Yang was so engrossed in killing that he almost forgot about this. I just said it. If I had the Pantheon, even if you had 100 lives, you would be finished. The demon dragon sighed in his heart. Fortunately, it was the light guardian divinity who was the enemy. If it was the temple's great elder Tianyu, sorry, but there would be no second chance. If one move failed, the next move would kill you instantly. How could you have 3 more chances to perform? This is the first time I have fought such a ridiculous boss, okay? Mistakes are inevitable. Do you think I want to be like this? It's good enough that we didn't get wiped out. Yu Yang used the 9 weapons of fate to smash the giant god's divine throne. On the other hand, the demon dragon hugged the giant god's fist and held him back so that the giant god could not kill this long-winded brat with his fist. The demon dragon was beaten to a pulp. The giant god furiously bombarded his body. He could not beat the slippery Yu Yang, so he was furious at the demon dragon who was trying his best to hold him back. While Yu Yang was bombarding his divine throne, he vented his anger on the demon dragon. When Yu Yang attacked his divine throne, he retaliated by bombarding the demon dragon with 10 punches. The demon dragon desperately hugged one of the giant god's fists and did not let go no matter how many times he was hammered. If it were not for Little One Li, who stopped the giant god's heavy punches in time, the demon dragon would have died long ago. Little One Li's divine beast will and the law of binding were not as good as the giant god's, but the giant god was not completely unaffected. After all, Little One Li also had an undeniable eternal will. A second or half a second was enough for the demon dragon and Yu Yang to escape from the heaviest punches. On the other side, the demon dragon gritted his teeth and held his fist. On the other side, Yu Yang attacked with all kinds of methods. The 9 weapons of fate, the the divine pearl of creation, the prison emperor divine seal, the wheel of eternity, the wheel of destruction, and the humanoid soldier god by Yao Yu sisters poured out without holding back. Yu Yang even summoned the world, that only appeared with the summoning grimoire. He used all his means and power. His goal. He wanted to smash the opponent's divine throne. Unfortunately, he had only achieved a small part of his goal in the end. The divine throne behind the giant god was indeed smashed, but it was not destroyed, just badly damaged. Yu Yang could not do more or better, because the demon dragon who was in charge of holding the enemy could not hold on any longer. The demon dragon was knocked down by the giant god. He gritted his teeth and rushed forward, wanting to fight again. But he staggered. His body fell straight down. This was the first time in all his battles that he lost control of his consciousness, the first time he could not control his body. As long as the giant god added another thunderous punch, his soul would be scattered and turned into dust, vanishing into nothingness. But the giant god did not. He raised his huge fist and looked at Yu Yang, who stopped attacking the divine throne and hugged the demon dragon tightly, as well as the little serpent Loli who was guarding Yu Yang. They stared at him with the determination to die. After a long time, he suppressed the anger in his heart. Titan Yu, you are indeed the hope of the Tong Tian Tower. I never thought that you could fight to this extent. I should say that I admire you for not standing on the enemy's side. Just wait, I will be back soon, you won't have to wait too long. The giant god turned into a ray of divine light and disappeared into the endless ancient passage with the damaged divine throne. Seeing the enemy leave, Yu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. His whole body suddenly collapsed like a soft dough. He had actually reached his limit long ago. He was just holding on just now. If the giant god had held on for one more minute, one more punch, he would not have been able to hold on. Fortunately, the giant god was paranoid and his divine throne was damaged. He could no longer provide support, causing the giant god to lose the desire to continue fighting. Xiao Wenli hurriedly carried Yu Yang up. Yu Yang's fighting strength had been completely exhausted. He didn't even have the strength to move a finger. Compared to the Mo Long who had just regained consciousness and sat up while gritting his teeth, Yu Yang was even worse. How weak! You are still far from it. The demon dragon was dyed red with blood. The injuries on his body were more than the stars in the night sky. I have only cultivated for a few years. Yu Yang was speechless. What do we do now? The demon dragon did not think that staying in the ancient passage was a good thing. The guardian divinity could return at any time. Even if the giant god did not return, the deity temple could just send a few subordinates here, and they would be able to take advantage of it. Now, both the heavily injured demon dragon and the exhausted Yu Yang had lost their battle power. If it were not for little one Li, the two of them would definitely not be able to walk out of the ancient passage. You ask me? Who should I ask? Aren't you the boss? Yu Yang decided to throw this thorny problem to the demon dragon. F***ck, you don't even think of me, the boss, when you treat us to a meal. The demon dragon was furious, but he knew that this was not the time to vent his anger. He was too lazy to argue. He desperately used his rarely used brain, hoping to come up with a good idea before the giant god returned. Should we find a place to hide and recover first? Yu Yang found that the blood on the demon dragon's body was like a fountain. If he did not heal this boss, no matter how much blood he had, he would not be able to withstand it. There is no place in the heaven realm that is safe. The demon dragon was furious. Where could he hide? In the heaven realm, in this ancient passage, the guardian divinity was the real master. What was the use of hiding? Was there anything here that was not under his eyes? Hiding was definitely not an option. He would definitely die. He definitely could not compete with him in terms of recovery. The other party had a deity. However, Yu Yang's unintentional suggestion still gave the demon dragon a flash of inspiration in his almost overgrown mind. Unfortunately, for a moment, he could not grasp what it was. He scratched the back of his head and reached out his hand to pat Yu Yang's shoulder. Talk some more nonsense. I almost remembered just now. There is still a little bit left. Yu Yang was speechless. F***ck, you can't remember. Let others speak to enlighten you. Do you think I am the god of wisdom who guides the world? If you can't remember, then think hard. What does it mean to let others talk? Is this the prelude to blaming others? The demon dragon was also speechless. There is no need to speak. You brat, you talk nonstop. Now that you need to speak, you can just say a few words to get some inspiration. But you can't even come up with a fart. Yu Yang saw the depressed expression of the demon dragon. He quickly said, "Why don't we go to the god's ruins? It should be safe there. I just don't know how to leave the heaven realm. Don't look at me. I am not familiar with the heaven realm at all. If we go back to Tong Tian Tower and go to the god's ruins, I can give you some directions." Well, I know it's not reliable, but didn't you want me to speak to remind you? I shut up. Now it's your turn to speak. You are the boss, you have the final say. Although Yu Yang's suggestion was useless, the demon dragon's mind was still successfully grasped by him. The demon dragon first organized his words. Then he waved his hand. Going to the god's ruins is a good idea, but we don't know the direction. Coupled with the long journey, it is difficult to guarantee that the guardian divinity will not catch up. The temple's supreme heavenly chariot is most likely waiting for us halfway. If we really go that way, it is probably more dangerous. But in the end, going to the god's ruins is the right choice. Our final battlefield should be in the god's ruins. This is the enemy's home ground. We will be at a disadvantage if we fight. Yu Yang nodded in agreement. Then let's leave this ancient passage first and pretend that we are escaping from the god's ruins. Then, we will return to the grimoire to rest. The demon dragon shook his head. No, we definitely can't return to the grimoire. This time, we will fall into the enemy's trap. Yu Yang was puzzled. The demon dragon looked at Yu Yang solemnly. Why do you think the temple's supreme heavenly chariot didn't come to participate in the battle? If he makes a move, the two of us will definitely die. Why would he give up such a good opportunity? Yu Yang suddenly understood. You mean, the temple's supreme heavenly chariot is carrying out some conspiracy at this moment, so important that he doesn't even care about killing us? The demon dragon said suspiciously, yes. If that is the case, there is only one possibility. It is the legendary Supreme Heavenly Chariot Duel. Supreme Heavenly Chariot Duel? Yu Yang had never heard of this term. Chapter 1350. The Destiny Duel of the Supremes. This is an opportunity that can only be encountered by chance. In other words, either the Heaven Realm or the Heaven Realm has produced two candidates to become the Holy Supremes, but the Heaven Realm only needs one place. Therefore, these two candidates will engage in an unparalleled destiny duel. The winner among them will become the Holy Supremes and enter eternity, while the loser will become the stepping stone of the Holy Supremes, and all his efforts will become a foil for the eternal glory of others. This kind of battle is crueler and more tragic than a cruel death, and there is never a way out, never a second choice. This is the destiny duel of the Supremes. In this kind of destiny duel, only victory is allowed, no defeat is allowed. You see, the guardian divinity attacked both of us, but the Supremes of the temple did not appear. The only explanation is that he is making his final preparations. For the final victory, he abandoned everything in the outside world, including the seemingly easy victory. The more the demonic dragon said, the more he understood. In the end, Yu Yang was still confused, but he had completely understood. Finally, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and looked eagerly at Yu Yang. Unfortunately, at this time, Yu Yang did not have any reaction. Without any awareness. Then what are we waiting for? Let's hurry and find the peerless emperor. When Yu Yang heard this, he was immediately overjoyed. He estimated that the good days of the Temple Supremes were coming to an end. For a big boss like him, the opponent must also be an unparalleled awesome person, such as the peerless emperor who had been locked in the Black Tower for tens of thousands of years waiting for an opportunity. Who said that the other candidate for the destiny duel is the peerless emperor? The demonic dragon was stunned. There is an existence more awesome than the peerless emperor? Yu Yang thought that the other candidate could not be Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li, right? Thinking about it, it made sense. Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li was determined to conquer the entire heaven realm and trample the Light Mountain. It's you, you fool. The demonic dragon slapped Yu Yang's forehead. He really wanted to slap this unconscious guy to death. If you are not the other candidate for the destiny duel, can your cultivation speed be so fast? Could there be so many fortuitous encounters and so many guides? Look at your beasts and treasures, then look at others. Have you ever thought that perhaps you were born into this world because you wanted to defeat Deity Templar's Supreme Tian Yu and become a Divine Supreme? I am also a genius, and a super genius at that. What right do you have to cultivate for such a short period of time to catch up to me? Isn't it because you are the future Divine Sovereign? Everything is arranged by fate. Me! Yu Yang was flabbergasted, completely dumbfounded. Your expression is asking for a beating. Don't force me to use violence out of envy, jealousy, and hatred, okay? The demon dragon gritted his teeth in hatred. He really didn't understand why the other candidate for the Divine Supreme Fate Showdown would choose this brat. In terms of talent, the unparalleled Emperor and the Conquest Queen Fei Wenli were not inferior at all. Moreover, the other people's hard work could beat this brat by 9 streets. Then it's over. If it's really me, then I'll definitely lose this battle. Yu Yang didn't think he could kill Tianyu right now. Not to mention killing Tianyu. Even if he challenged him, he might not be qualified. Even Yu Yang himself wouldn't bet on himself to win if the two of them were placed on the stage at the same time for a fated battle. Damn, the gap was too big. How many years had Tianyu, the supreme elder of the deity palace, cultivated for? Moreover, it was said that this guy was a madman. He cultivated every day and never slacked off just because he was the #1 person in the central shrine. Against such a pervert in the Fate Showdown, could the chance of winning be 1 in 100 million? It's not up to you to say whether you win or lose. You're only responsible for fighting. The demon dragon's heart was now much more at ease. If this brat was really the other candidate for the Supreme Fate Showdown, then many of his previous doubts could be explained. Why was this brat so abnormal? Why did this brat have so many guardian warbeasts? Why did this brat have so many divine weapons? Why did this brat have so many fortuitous encounters? Why did this brat improve so quickly? Why could this brat defeat powerful enemies that he couldn't possibly defeat? Now everything had an answer. Because he was the future divine sovereign. Perhaps it was destined from birth. Of course, it was also possible that it would become someone else's wedding dress. The final result could only be known after the Fate Showdown. But no matter what, this brat didn't seem to be a tragic existence that would become someone else's wedding dress. Perhaps the one who would really become a stepping stone to set off his glory was the deity shrine's sovereign Tian Yu, who had never been pushed down from his throne for tens of thousands of years. Brat, with me protecting you, you will win, you definitely will. The demon dragon patted his chest and guaranteed, even if I die, I will help you reach the top. Ha, my little brother is actually the divine sovereign. Damn it, I'll wake up laughing even in my dreams. Calm down, don't panic, the deity shrine's sovereign Tian Yu is nothing to be proud of. He just cultivated tens of thousands of years earlier than you. He's just a madman who cultivates every day. It's okay with me protecting you, you will definitely win in the end. What kind of look is that? You dare to doubt me? Are you asking for a beating? Let's find a place to hide. Yu Yang suddenly thought of this serious problem. If the guardian angel of the light returned, forget about the Supreme Elder's fate showdown, he would be instantly killed. That's right, that's true. The demon dragon also felt that the giant god was very difficult to deal with. This guy's turtle shell was too hard. He really couldn't beat him now. Let's hurry up and run, it'll be too late if we don't run now. Yu Yang felt that it was too early to discuss the fate showdown. What are you panicking for? I know a place. The demon dragon suddenly thought of a place and grabbed Yu Yang's shoulder. I don't know if it's right to go there. Maybe it's harming you, maybe it's fate's arrangement. You make the final decision. Live or die, you've already made your choice. If you die, don't blame me for not making it clear. So serious? What is that place? The bright summit of the central shrine? You know the secret passage? Yu Yang remembered that when the 6 major sects besieged the Ming cult, there was a secret passage that led straight to the bright summit. Could it be that the demon dragon wanted to play a trick on him? The most dangerous place was the safest place, right? What nonsense! We're going to the gate of fate. Fortunately, the demon dragon didn't know what the bright summit that Yu Yang was talking about was. Otherwise, he would definitely be shocked to death. The gate of fate? Yu Yang had a bad feeling when he heard that. That's an ancient gate of God. Those who enter must break through their destiny to get out. Bringing you in now might be good, or it might be the biggest mistake. You decide for yourself. The demon dragon gave the choice to Yu Yang. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, we can't avoid it. Yu Yang threw caution to the wind. Even though he had a guilty conscience, but the guy from another world still had the courage to do things. Clenching his teeth, he made a decision that he didn't know was good or bad. Everything would be decided by his own hard work and struggle. Whether he would succeed in defying the heavens, turn the world around and achieve glory, or some other ending, he didn't think about it for now. He would use his hands to fight to the end. In short, he would do his best. The guy from another world felt that it was fine as long as he didn't have any regret. The demon dragon praised. Good, this is the courage of a future honorable saint. Just like that, the 2 brothers who weren't fated to die finally came to their senses and made the right choice at the most dangerous moment. When little Wunli brought Yu Yang and the demon dragon along and turned into a ray of divine light, disappearing into the ancient passage, the 3 rankers under the honorable saint of the temple, Zizai Tian, Huai Tian and the strongest ranker, who liked to hide high up in the sky, rushed to the battlefield. If they were a minute later, no, half a minute, the ending, maybe it would have turned into something else. The extremely mature Zizai Tian observed the surroundings of the battlefield and judged. A terrifying deity war once erupted here. The missing Titan Yu definitely escaped from here. Titan Yu has this kind of strength? The hidden ranker who liked to descend from the sky expressed his doubt. Someone is helping him. Huai Tian's senses were even more accurate. Although this place was destroyed everywhere, I can still sense the energy left behind by the 3 powerful deities. The guardian deity must have sensed the enemy's movements and appeared to stop them. An intense deity war erupted here. Although we don't know what the outcome was, we can be sure that an enemy close to the guardian deity came to help Titan Yu. Emo Long. Zizai Tian immediately reacted. The East once said that Titan Yu had an extremely powerful guardian behind him. The demon dragon, who was once known as Heaven Realm's #1 murderer, has already been released by the higher-ups to protect Titan Yu to atone for his crimes. That makes sense. The one hidden in the sky also agreed with this deduction. The guardian deity still couldn't kill Titan Yu? There seems to be someone leaving over there. Huai Tian faintly sensed that there were some kind of tear marks in the depths of the ancient passage. If the guardian deity made a move, even if the enemy wasn't killed on the spot, the enemy would definitely be heavily injured. The will that descended from the sky was overjoyed. Hearing this, Zizai Tian immediately made a decision. Let's chase. Quickly chase. As long as Titan Yu was still alive. Then the chase must not stop. 3 rays of divine light cut through the tranquility of the ancient passage. In an instant, they disappeared into the deep darkness. At this moment, on the sky snake bridge of Libra world, Ji Zun was in a bitter battle. Her opponent was no longer that battle-hungry subtraction life, but had changed many times. Now it was an extremely powerful old ghost called Venerable Floating Sky by her companions. This venerable floating sky was completely black, like a dazzling ink. No light in the world could stay on his body for even half a second. It wasn't devouring, it was a type of negation. Ji Zun had released a burst of light before, but it was completely ineffective against this venerable floating sky. This old ghost was an existence that couldn't be defeated by any light energy. Even Ji Zun's black pieces couldn't leave a mark on his body. If it wasn't for Ji Zun discovering that this venerable floating sky was somewhat afraid of the black pieces, she wouldn't know what to do to deal with this troublesome enemy. Use your ultimate move. Use your strongest secret technique and forbidden technique. Otherwise, this battle will be over. The black hole-like venerable floating sky was even stronger than subtraction life. However, Ji Zun was currently exhausted in the battle against several super experts. She almost didn't have the strength to stand. It's not bad that you were able to fight until now. What a surprising young lady. The seductive female voice giggled. Good fight, very exciting. It would be better if the fight lasted longer. Right now, it's not enough. Peerless world, are you going to watch your descendant be killed by venerable floating sky and do nothing? Another old voice provoked the peerless world. Don't you want to fight? This old man's hands are a little itchy. Come, this old man will give you a chance to take revenge. I'm not dead yet. Ji Zun suddenly stood up and stood proudly under the impact of the opponent's divine power. A trace of stubbornness flashed in the depths of her eyes. I haven't lost. Mother, are you watching from the sky? You know, I'm the strongest and I've always been working hard. Today, I'll show you the greatest result of my cultivation. When Ji Zun's consciousness fell into thought, her divine power also underwent an incredible change around her body. A strange spectacle that no one had ever seen before appeared in front of everyone. Black and white interweaved to form a world. There was only black and white inside, and nothing else. It rotated outside Ji Zun's body at an extremely slow speed, but it was extremely mysterious. It was as if it had always existed since the beginning of the world. Danger! A seductive female voice screamed. Not only Master Xiankong, who was opposite Ji Zun, but even Master Chang Sheng and the other opponents who were resting and watching the battle from afar were all alarmed. When this extremely beautiful and mysterious small world appeared, everyone had a feeling that they were going to be sealed inside forever, never to come out. Whether it was stepping into the battlefield or hiding in the sky to watch the battle, the result was the same. Everyone rushed forward in a frenzy, hoping that at the last moment they could stop this terrifying small world from rotating. As long as it continued, even if everyone died, at the very least, they would be sealed forever. Door of eternal life, seal. Ji Zun raised her hand and pointed. Master Xiankong, who had already erupted with his ultimate power, was absorbed by the small world like smoke. His divine body, which was not affected by any light energy and even the black pieces could not damage it, was directly annihilated. Under everyone's gaze, the soul inside the divine body let out a heaven-shaking wail. It desperately begged and struggled, but it was useless. Master Xuankong's soul was directly extracted by an irresistible will of Ji Zun and sealed into the small world. Master Chang Sheng and the others were sweating profusely as they watched. Never in their wildest dreams did they imagine that the will and laws of this little girl in front of them had reached such a terrifying realm. If they had known earlier, even if there were great benefits, they would not have made a move against this little girl. It was too terrifying. Someone as strong as Master Xiankong couldn't even struggle. His divine body was directly annihilated and his soul was sealed. This, how did she cultivate to such a level? Fortunately, the target was not them, but Master Xiankong, who was constantly shouting in the battlefield. Otherwise, no one here would be spared. I give up, I don't want to fight against such a terrifying opponent. Master Chang Xing was scared out of his wits. He decided that he would never fight against Ji Zun again, forever. Not a single person in the crowd laughed at him, because this was not funny at all. Everyone's hearts became incomparably heavy as they watched the ascendant being insta-killed. It was as if a heavy boulder had been placed on the other side of the scale. That little girl seems to have fainted? The seductive female voice cried out again. She was the first to notice that something was wrong. Ji Zun fell to the ground with a thud. Her consciousness gradually became lighter. It was as if she could see her mother and little aunt smiling in the sky, while her little sister was like when she was young, lifting her skirt and running over happily, calling her big sister and so on. Further behind there was a mischievous little fellow, surrounded by a large group of people, walking over noisily. Is it him? Mom, is it him? Is he the little brother you were hoping for? Chapter 1351. It turns out that she had already reached her limit and couldn't hold on any longer. A few old fellows discussed among themselves. Doesn't that mean that Xian Kong sage died unjustly? Some people felt sorry for the powerful Xian Kong sage. If he hadn't been killed in one move, he would have won even if he didn't attack. Who asked him to provoke his opponent? Someone sneered. He deserved it. I think that little girl is too strange. A normal god-level warrior can't kill an opponent of the same level in one move. More people agreed with this point of view. In my opinion, it doesn't matter if she's strange or normal. Now is the best time to kill her while she's unconscious and defenseless. The god-level expert, who was ranked second behind Jia Chang Xing and was fighting against a supreme being, spoke at this moment. If we miss this golden opportunity, and she wakes up, she might attack and instantly kill another old man. I just don't know which unlucky fellow among you will be Xiankong esteemed master. Qi Danzi, you're all talk and no action. Why don't you attack? How do you know that you won't be the next one? An old voice protested in a stern voice. I've already fought with her. Now, it's not my turn to attack, right? The god-level ranker called Qi Danzi laughed. If you're still trying to incite us to fight her to the death because that little girl killed dozens of your trash beasts, then there's no need for that. At the very least, I won't be used as a tool by others. It's better to play less tricks. The old voice snorted disdainfully. Whatever you think. Qi Danzi didn't say much. Don't be noisy. Isn't it just killing an unconscious brat? It's so easy. A gloomy and slightly hoarse male voice rang out, hissing like a venomous snake lurking in the darkness. You're all high and mighty deities, so you disdain to do such despicable and shameless things, don't you? Don't worry, I'll do it. Haha, what I like to do the most is to build my happiness on other people's pain. It doesn't matter when or where, as long as I can vent to my heart's content. Do you want me to rape her first and then kill her? I can swear in the name of the primordial snake god that I can twist off her head and play with it to my heart's content for an entire day. She won't die completely. If you don't like it, how about some delicious roasted meat? It's been a long time since I've tasted a little girl with such tender skin and flesh. Roasted human flesh. The seductive female voice shrieked, Jiu Yen, you pervert. You have no taste at all. You can imagine, if there is a long and sharp root piercing through your anus, through your stomach, then through your throat, and finally out through your 2 rows of teeth and sexy lips, how wonderful that scene would be. If there was a fire roasting the food underneath, watching the food being cooked bit by bit, charred bit by bit, and then the aroma would spread. You have to eat it while it's hot. You have to cut off a big piece at the fastest speed and stuff it into your mouth, letting the taste of the meat fill your entire mouth. Oh, that would be the highest enjoyment in life. When the gloomy and hoarse Jiu Yen said this, Many old ghosts who knew him couldn't help but stay away from him. For tens of thousands of years, no one knew that he had such a perverted hobby. How well did he hide it? Of course, it might not be that Jiu Yen hid it well, but that this Libra world didn't give him such a chance to display it. The Libra world was filled with divine-level monsters. To Jiu Yen, whose abilities were average, it wasn't easy for him to eat any one of them. There was a shortage of ingredients, so this hobby had never been displayed. The seductive female voice cursed when she heard this. Her relationship with Jiu Yen wasn't good. Now, when she thought that this fellow might have had designs on her, and when she thought about how she would look when she was placed on the roasting rack, she felt extremely disgusted. In the future, don't ever talk to me, and don't say that you know me. The seductive female voice distanced herself from him with extreme disgust. Otherwise, I'll fight you to the death. Fine, I won't tell you even if you've slept with me before. Jiu Yen laughed loudly. Do you want to die? The seductive female voice became even more furious. All right, don't coax each other. Let's talk when we get back. I don't care whether you sleep with me or kill each other, but you have to deal with this immediately. Otherwise, it'll be too late for you to regret it when the peerless world releases the Libra world. The aged voice relied on his seniority and quickly stopped this battle that could explode at any moment. Damn snake, I'm not done with you. Just you wait. The seductive female voice suppressed her desire to kill, but continued to curse resentfully. Wait where? On the bed? Jiu Yen wasn't afraid at all when he heard this. Instead, he was proud of himself. Can you all calm down for a while? The aged voice hurriedly shouted. Jiu Yen, you'll be responsible for this matter. You can steam it or boil it if you want, roast it or roast it if you want. We don't care, but you'll have to bear this sin yourself. If someone behind this young lady pursues this matter, you'll have to figure it out yourself. Don't think of dragging us down with you. I understand. Since I want to enjoy delicious food, I naturally have to pay the price. Jiu Yen laughed loudly. So what if I'm guilty? Lock me up for another 10,000 years? Anyway, I'll never be able to get out of here. Lock me up for as long as I want. With a beautiful woman as my food, I don't care about any sins. Even if the heavens fall and the earth shatter in the future, I'll just enjoy it now. Ha ha ha, if you're interested, you can come and share it with me. I'm very happy to find a like-minded friend to enjoy delicious food in life. I'm interested, but this young lady might not be a simple character. I'll let it go this time. We can talk about enjoying delicious food next time. An old ghost expressed his interest, but he was equally cautious. After all, he still didn't know if there was someone behind Ji-Zun. Hurry up and get her out of here. Peerless will be here soon. The aged voice hurriedly reminded Jiu Yen. All right, then I'll have to enjoy this sumptuous meal alone. Jiu Yen, whose voice was gloomy and hoarse, appeared from the darkness. He had a human body and a snake's tail, and a pair of terrifying green, phosphorescent snake eyes flashed. Between his thin lips, a long forked tongue flashed and hissed from time to time. He twisted his body and slithered forward. Although he looked arrogant on the surface, he was actually secretly vigilant, deeply afraid that Ji-Zun would wake up. Just now, Ji-Zun had killed Floating Sage in one move, which shocked everyone present. If she hadn't fainted on the ground and completely lost consciousness, Jiu Yen wouldn't have dared to eat her even if he was given 100 guts. Although Jiu Yan's actions were disgusting, even the seductive female voice, who was the most disgusted with him, didn't object. Even she was afraid of Ji-Zun's awakening, because no one knew if Ji-Zun would kill another one in a second. When she woke up, however, when Jiu Yen swam to Ji-Zun's side, an unexpected person suddenly stood up. He stood in front of Jiu Yen. This person. It wasn't peerless Emperor Wu Shuang, but subduing common life, who had previously fought a bitter battle with Ji-Zun. In the battle between subduing common life and Ji-Zun, neither side had the upper hand. The evenly matched two fell into a long and bitter battle. Subduing common life exhausted all his means, but still couldn't defeat subduing common life. Jizun also attacked fiercely, but couldn't do anything to subduing common life. If it wasn't for Scarlet Danzy, who was ranked second, being impatient and joining the battle might have continued until now. Subduing common life, what is the meaning of this? Jiu Yen was confused. Nothing. Subduing common life's voice sounded lazily. I just can't stand it. None of your business. Get lost. Jiu Yen was furious. Whose side are you on? Do you think you're on peerless Emperor Wu Shuang's side? You're a fallen god, a criminal imprisoned in the Dead Sea. Why do you have a sense of justice? Besides, a hero saving a damsel in distress isn't something a villain like you, subduing common life, would do. If you want to kill her, then I don't care. But if you want to eat her, then I won't allow it. Subduing common life was very principled. I want to use her as food and I want to humiliate her. What are you going to do about it? Jiu Yen felt that this guy was deliberately going against her. Everyone agreed, so why would subduing common life object? If you want to humiliate her, then you want to humiliate me. She's a strong enemy that I, subduing common life, can't defeat. She's definitely not food. Subduing common life sneered. If you can step over my dead body, then I have nothing to say. But before that, don't even think about touching a finger of hers. Come, if you insist, then let's have a showdown. If it was before, I might have some reservations, but now that you've been crippled, do you really think I'm giving it to you for free? Jiu Yen suddenly felt that this was a good opportunity. If he could defeat subduing common life, who was ranked above him, then he could advance further. Don't mention a small injury. Even if I, subduing common life, am on my last breath, don't even think about challenging my position. Subduing common life was incomparably proud. Are you sure? Jiu Yen laughed sinisterly. Her tone changed. Are you sure that your stupid actions won't anger everyone? It's not your turn to rule over subduing common life yet, right? Jiu Yen is right. Destroying the enemy is the most important thing right now. The old voice also hurriedly tried to dissuade him. Subduing common life, we can understand your respect for a strong enemy. But they're still enemies. Peerless Emperor Wu Shuang could drop the sky at any time and launch a sneak attack on us. Right now, we can't fight amongst ourselves. Subduing common life, we mean to get rid of this little girl first. Her willpower and laws are too dangerous. Jiu Yen, you have to respect subduing common life's wishes. After all, his position is above yours. You'd better make a move as soon as possible and kill the target. Don't do anything unnecessary. We only want the result. It's that simple. You guys control the speed. Understood. Jiu Yen laughed. Did you hear that? Subduing common life, I've won. Move aside. I can promise you that I'll kill this little girl first and then turn her into a delicacy. Go and die. Subduing common life sent Jiu Yen flying with a punch while he was laughing smugly. He opened his stance towards the darkness. His gaze was blazing. Standing in front of the unconscious Jizun, his willpower was boundless. This enemy is a respectable enemy. If any of you want to blaspheme her, then step over my dead body. If she's conscious, I, subduing common life, will fight her to the death without any regrets. But while she's unconscious, you old ghosts who've lived for tens of thousands of years, don't even think about killing her and blaspheming her corpse. I, subduing common life, am a bad guy. But I'm also a warrior. Chapter 1352. The old ghosts in the darkness discussed for a while. In the end, the old voice let out a long sigh. The seductive female voice suddenly spoke. Subtraction life, you still have a chance to change your mind. Subtraction life's usual lazy and sleepy voice had changed. It became like a furious lion, roaring thunderously. No, never. After a long time, the seductive female voice made a decision. Everyone knows that my relationship with this idiot is not bad. If he participates, you might even suspect that we are on the same side, so I have decided to withdraw. After a pause, she said to Subtraction Life, "If you die, I might shed a few tears. After all, I have been using you as a shield all these years. You idiot, why do you have to be so foolish? That is an enemy. You did not know her before, and you did not fall in love with her at first sight. Why do you still want to protect her?" Subtraction Life snorted, "I am such an idiot, you don't understand." The seductive female voice sighed, "All right, I don't understand, but I will still help you collect your corpse, if there is even a little bit of you left." Just as she was sighing bitterly, billions of light rays shot out from all directions in the darkness. Their target was Subtraction Life, who was blocking in front of Ji-zoon. It was an attack that gathered almost all of their strength. Its power could simply shatter half of the Libra world. The Horizon Snake Bridge disappeared in an instant. The entire space turned into a sieve. If not for the ancient laws continuously recovering, the Libra world would have been in danger of collapsing. In the center of the divine power attack, a sapphire blue divine power circle protected the unconscious Ji-zoon, not letting her receive any damage. And her original opponent, Subtraction Life, was directly bathed in the divine power storm that erupted from his comrades. After a long time, the destructive shockwave caused by the divine power slowly disappeared. The Horizon Snake Bridge also began to recover bit by bit. The broken space began to close up. Finally, it was as if nothing had happened, except for Subtraction Life, who had taken the full brunt of his comrades' attacks. Half of his body disappeared. Only one leg and one hand remained. But at this time, Subtraction Life was still tenaciously surviving, and persisted in protecting Ji-zoon. "Fool, how many waves of such attacks can you withstand?" The seductive female voice had already foreseen this outcome, but when she saw Jiet Songxing's miserable state, she still couldn't help but sigh. "I won't regret it even in death, because I'm Reduce Life. No matter how depraved I am, I won't kill an unconscious woman. This is my principle as a warrior, and it's also the thing I'm most proud of in my life." Reduce the common life's cry shook the heavens and the earth. He knew that after the next wave of attacks, he would definitely not be able to escape. Even the principles that he adhered to and the enemies that he protected would be annihilated together. But even so, he would not regret it even if he died. "You're such a fool." That seductive female voice sounded like she was about to cry. "Go and die. If you want to be a hero, go and help Peerless raise the sky. Why are you trying to be a hero on our side? It's as if you've never done anything bad. Who are you trying to show this disgusting face of righteousness?" Jiu Yen appeared and rained down punches on Subduing Mortal Being, causing blood to splatter all over his body. In the past, he would not have dared to challenge Subduing Mortal Being, who was ranked far above him. But now it was a once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. Subduing Mortal Being was on the brink of death. Heavily injured, he could not fight back at all. Moreover, with so many people gathering their divine powers to attack him, Subduing Mortal Being would definitely die. No matter how they humiliated him, there would be no repercussions. The divine fists were as heavy as mountains and as dense as rain. In the sky, blood splattered everywhere. Subduing Mortal Being, who had always been ranked above Jiu Yen in both ranking and status, could not even dodge now. He could only let Jiu Yen attack with all his might. Jiu Yen was having a great time fighting. Who would have thought that the powerful and proud Subduing Mortal Being would one day become a human target? Just as Jiu Yen was preparing his strongest move to blow up Subduing Mortal Being's head, a strange divine power arced through the sky from behind and sent Jiu Yen flying in an instant. Jiu Yen tumbled around in the sky in a sorry state. It took him a lot of effort to stop the momentum of his charge. He looked at a dark corner and roared angrily, "Bloodflower, you bitch, do you want to go against us too? Just because I attacked your lover, right? I knew you and subduing mortal being were a couple. Otherwise, how could a bitch like you not have a man for tens of thousands of years? I don't want to go against anyone. I just don't like you. The seductive female voice giggled. You can kill subduing mortal being. I don't mind. I said I would back out long ago, but some people are very annoying. I couldn't help but attack. Now you can continue. I will watch and not participate in any of your quarrels or disagreements. Bitch, that's just an excuse. Everyone knows he's your lover. Jiu Yen was about to go crazy with anger. But in terms of fighting, he really did not have the confidence to defeat the other party. The seductive bloodflower, this legendary spider queen who did not like men every day, was not someone to be trifled with, especially since there was still subduing mortal being in front. If he fell into the enemy's trap in the middle of the battlefield and allowed the other party to attack him with all his might, the gains would not make up for the losses. The old voice pondered for a while and slowly said, Since you are neutral, it doesn't matter. Moreover, your personal actions did not violate the rules of the Dead Sea. We will not care about the grudges between you. Subduing mortal being, if you give up, I guarantee that we will still be friends and comrades. Subduing mortal being's reply. There was only silence. A silence that was as firm as a mountain and as hard as steel. He did not say a word, but his attitude had already expressed his will. In that case, we will send our friend on his way. Over the years, there have been many friends who have grown tired of the balanced world and the Dead Sea and have chosen various ways to leave us. Although we are reluctant, we respect them very much. Subduing mortal being, you are not wrong. You can have your persistence and ideals, but we are not wrong either. We also have our persistence and ideals. Friend, former comrades, since we have different paths, let us not work together. Fate has come to an end. Please go on your way in peace. The old voice had already made its final decision. Divine power gathered again and turned into blazing divine light. It came from all directions. It shot towards the center, towards subduing mortal being, who was in the middle of the battlefield. The destructive power was 10 times stronger than the previous wave of attack. Even if subduing mortal being tried to escape with his broken body, he might not be able to escape death in time. Is it over? But this is good too. Actually, I should have died back then. It's too late now. If I had died in battle back then, how good would that have been? I wouldn't have needed to be trapped in this damned balanced world for tens of thousands of years. My comrade, after tens of thousands of years, do you still remember me, sleeping for eternity? If I hadn't been so competitive back then and deliberately stood in front of you, determined to compete with you, I wouldn't have ended up like this. I'm tired. I've lived for too long and I'm too tired. What I need most now is freedom. My brother, please allow me to come to your sleeping world and apologize to you. I was really young and impetuous back then. I didn't know that you were so much stronger than me, and I didn't know that you were so forgiving. On the contrary, I swung my murderous fist at you and caused you fatal injuries. Can you still forgive me like before? My friend, my brother. Once again, the huge sky serpent bridge was in a state of destruction. Above it, subtract the common life was directly bathed in the divine light of the attacks of the gods. It was as if, at the moment when he disappeared, he revealed a comfortable smile that had never been seen for tens of thousands of years. That smile was so comforting, so liberating. His companion Scarlet Danzy, who was hiding in the darkness, saw this and sighed sadly. As a friend, he understood very well what subtract the common life wanted. This guy didn't want to live anymore. He was tired of living. In this Dead Sea, the endless years without passion were even scarier than the sharp edge of a knife. Bit by bit, it cut away the fighting spirit of a martial artist. Almost no one could escape the devastation of this blade of time. This was not like the aging of mortals. Their physical bodies died and then reincarnated, continuing a new exciting life with a brand new attitude. This was a kind of punishment for not dying. Scarlet Danzy understood very well that Subtract the Common Life longed to die in battle. He even longed for it before. Unfortunately, he didn't have the courage that Subtract the Common Life had. He didn't dare to stand against everyone and face death. Because this kind of death was not the death of a mortal's physical body. This kind of death was true death. Soul annihilation. In other words, it was a kind of death that had completely turned into nothingness. Have a good journey. Perhaps, one day, I will also go crazy and follow your choice. Scarlet Danzy murmured and sighed. Before Subtract the Common Life, there had been many fallen deities who chose to die in battle as a means of liberation. Some even chose to self-destruct as a means of liberation. Although this ending was different for each deity. Some deities endured for a long time, and some deities only persisted for a short time before giving up. The choice was almost the same. They all chose death as a means of liberation. Pei. Jiu Wang spat coldly. He was actually another mode of existence among the fallen deities in the camp of the Dead Sea of Balance world. He was another direction of choice. No matter how bad the environment was or how boring life was, people like Jiu Wang would always have a way to entertain themselves and convince themselves that in their minds, controlling divine power was everything. Higher divine power was always their pursuit. As for the rest, it was meaningless. The heavenly snake bridge returned to normal. The space was the same as before. The power of the ancient laws here was unparalleled. No one could truly destroy the balanced world, even if it was the joint attack of a dozen powerful deities. It's already over. The old man's voice had just faded when he suddenly shouted angrily, "Damn it, bloody flower, you untrustworthy B*th with a mouth full of lies." Not only him, but the rest of the old men were also cursing angrily. When the divine light disappeared, there was a spider demon on the heavenly snake bridge. Her entire body had been smashed to pieces, and only her head was left intact. She stood in front of Subtract the Common Life. It was she who had blocked the fatal blow for Subtract the Common Life. And this was not the real reason for the curse of the fallen gods in the camp of the Dead Sea. What made the fallen gods of the Dead Sea extremely angry was that there was an incomparably huge silver spider climbing on the peak of the divine mountain and weaving a rune net. It temporarily held up the sky in place of peerless Emperor Wu Shuang, who was struggling to hold up the sky. Chapter 1353. Using her own body to bear the god's power while her guardian beast held up the sky. This was a crazy move by Blood Brightflower, who said she would withdraw from the battle and remain neutral. Not only Qi Danzi, Zhou Hai and the others, even Jiet Songsheng, who was lucky enough to survive, was very confused. Being afraid of death had always been Blood Brightflower's true nature. Why? I know you don't like me, and I know I am ugly. Who would like a poisonous spider? Originally, I thought I would never have any love in this life. I have always used hatred as my strength. The blood of my enemies and their painful moans are what I like. But all these years I've seen that fool, the peerless emperor, come over and over again, doing all kinds of foolish things for his lover in vain. He never gets tired of it, which makes my heart suddenly have a trace of desire. If there's someone who can do something for me like the peerless emperor, even if it's the most boring, idiotic, and wrong move, I'll be satisfied. Blood Brightflower's body was broken, leaving only her head. When Jiet Songsheng held her head with one hand and looked at her in shock, she smiled. But I have never done anything for you. Jiet Songsheng really couldn't remember what he had done for her. There is still time. Do something for me before my soul completely disappears, okay? Before Blood Brightflower finished speaking, Zhou Hai had already pounced on her. His fists were like lightning, attacking. Get lost! Jiet Songsheng pushed Zhou Hai away, only to find that Blood Brightflower's soul had already started to disappear. Instantly, tears of blood flowed. No! This was the result Jiu Hai wanted. He laughed sinisterly. Easily dodging Jie Zongsheng's sorrowful attack, he delightedly slipped back to the group of dead sea fallen gods. Subtraction Common Life held blood-bright Flower's head in despair as he watched her soul dissipate bit by bit in the void sky. It's okay. To be able to see you cry for me, I am already very honored. If the ancient gods are willing to give me another chance, I will courageously chase after you and make you fall deeply in love with me. I won't be like this anymore, watching you suffer in loneliness and self-blame for tens of thousands of years. I will definitely accompany you and never leave your side. Before the crimson flowers could fully blossom, it disappeared completely. The guardian beast that held up the sky also turned into a ray of light, following the direction where its master disappeared, disappearing into nothingness. No, no. Subtraction Common Life roared at the sky in grief and indignation. That kind of heartbreaking wail was enough to make the stone golem cry. He was already heavily injured, and he was good at destruction but not healing. He had no way of saving his comrade's life. He couldn't even stop it for a moment. Ever since he had accidentally killed a comrade who was as close as a brother to him, Reduce the common people had never felt as heartbroken as he did today. This was not a fate he wanted to choose. It was just like how he had shattered his brother's heart with a single punch in the past. Qi Danzi couldn't bear to watch anymore. He had never thought that the Crimson Flower, who cherished her life so much, would do such a thing. Only Jiu Yen and the others were completely unmoved. They were bad people through and through. Was there a need to have a conscience and a sense of justice? Evil killing and merciless destruction were what life was all about. Only then could they build their happiness on the pain of others and watch their enemies struggle and wail in pain. That was true enjoyment. This wail is really pleasant to hear. Jiu Yen laughed loudly. He had wanted to see Reduce the common people, who were higher than him, suffer for a long time. Wasn't this the perfect time? All right, since you said so, I will do one thing for you. Many people felt that something was wrong when they heard Reduce the common people's resolute word. What was this guy trying to do? Reduce the common people's broken body turned into a stream of light and appeared on the top of the divine mountain. He lifted up the sky that was constantly falling down with one arm. The majestic will of the divine mountain immediately shone brightly and continuously eroded his already heavily injured fallen god body. But he didn't care at all. He turned a blind eye to the endless pain and shouted at the sky, "Look, do you see it now? This is what I did for you. I, Reduce the common people, have never done anything for you. Now I am willing to lift the entire sky for you." The fallen gods of the Dead Sea camp were furious. This guy had betrayed them? Moreover, he was crazy enough to lift the sky for the enemy. He had officially freed Emperor Wu Shuang, who had been alone and helpless all this time. Thank you. Very well, my fate has finally begun. Emperor Wu Shuang gazed at his lover with peerless gentleness. The sun and moon in his eyes emitted an indescribable divine light. Once I leave, I may not return. So, this is an official farewell. If I am lucky enough to become a big tree and accompany you for the rest of your life, it will be the greatest gift of the ancient gods to my life. Goodbye. Whether you return or not, in my heart, you will always be a big tree that can lift the sky. The flower fairy was smiling, but 2 drops of tears fell from the corners of her eyes. Fallen gods of the Dead Sea, I am coming. You can now say your last words. Emperor Wu Shuang's anger, which had been accumulating for tens of thousands of years, erupted like a volcano. What made the Dead Sea gods tremble was that Emperor Wu Shuang, who was already incomparably strong, had a terrifying will to die. If this guy wanted to fight with his life, the consequences would be unimaginably serious. If you dare to take one more step, I will kill her. Jiu Yen was extremely afraid, but his mind was quick. He realized that Ji Zun, who was protected by the sky blue divine power shield, was still there. He was overjoyed and rushed forward. He gathered his divine power and prepared to use her as a hostage. Stupid guy. Emperor Wu Shuang couldn't stop laughing. You guys have been living like dogs all these years. This little girl didn't lose at all. She just used the cruel battle to realize and build her brand new divine throne. From life to death, from death to life. Her enlightenment far exceeds the seniors like you who have been living for tens of thousands of years. Don't you feel ashamed at all? What do I want to say to you Dead Sea gods? Stupid? No, that's not enough to describe you. Perhaps it's more appropriate to describe you as pitiful. Pitiful? When the fallen gods of the Dead Sea camp heard this, their faces twisted. They were so depressed that they almost went crazy. However, the person who said this was Emperor Wu Shuang. He was a guy with overwhelming strength. No matter how unhappy they were, they could only try their best to endure it. Jiu Yen, who was on the battlefield, still didn't believe it. He felt that Emperor Wu Shuang was tricking him. This girl had clearly fainted. Why was she talking about the divine throne of enlightenment? The divine throne had to be formed from a higher level. Could it be realized by one person? What a joke! He gathered his divine power and rushed before Emperor Wu Shuang could stop him. He attacked the unconscious supreme martial artist in a frenzy. Heaven and earth exploded. Space fragments flew everywhere, and the snake bridge collapsed. In the center of the attack, everything was in a state of destruction. Everything turned into powder. Ha 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 ha. This is the divine throne of enlightenment you mentioned? This is the wisdom that surpasses us? Ha 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 ha. Because Jiu Yen had no way to vent the fear in his heart, he couldn't help but laugh wildly at the slightest provocation. The pressure that Emperor Wu Shuang brought him almost made him go crazy. Now that he could turn the tables on the opponent, how could he not be ecstatic? Ha ha ha. Standing on the divine peak with one foot, Subtraction Common Life, who was holding the sky with one arm, also laughed wildly. His face was covered with tears of blood. His maniacal laughter baffled Jiawei. What are you laughing at? That girl is already dead. Everything you have done is in vain. What are you laughing at? Could it be that he had gone mad after seeing me kill this chick? Jiu Yen looked at Emperor Wu Shuang, who was tens of thousands of meters tall and could shake heaven and earth with a single step, getting closer and closer. Suddenly, he felt a chill all over his body. He quickly turned around and prepared to retreat to the group. As soon as he turned around, he discovered an inconceivable scene in front of him. There was a familiar woman standing coldly in the air. No matter how he looked at her, she looked like the young lady whom he had just killed with a single strike. It was her. It was her. Jiu Yen was scared out of his wits. His divine will exploded, and he didn't care about the attack anymore. He ran away as fast as he could. Did I say that you can go back? Ji Zun raised her hand, and the entire balanced scale world seemed to turn into a black and white world. Jiu Yan's body flew back to the group of Dead Sea gods like an arrow. But his soul, it had been pulled out at some point. It was held in Ji Zun's slender hand. Ji Zun casually raised her hand, ignoring the desperate wails of Jiu Ying's soul, who was desperately begging for mercy. She gently squeezed it, and with a pop sound, she directly crushed the soul of a god-level expert who had lived for tens of thousands of years. When Jiu Yan's soul completely disappeared, the balanced scale world returned to normal. The black and white colors returned to Ji Zun's left and right as if they were born to protect her. Hiss! The fallen gods on the Dead Sea camp all sucked in a breath of cold air. It turned out that this little girl had not lost at all. She had only used death to complete her godhood. She had not lost at all. Fortunately, that fellow reduced the lives count had been foolish and had desperately tried to protect her. Everyone's attacks had not been effective. Otherwise, everyone would have completed a godhood for her. In the confusion, only Jiu Yen attacked in the end. This little girl's divine throne wasn't really complete. Otherwise, there was no need to fight this battle. It was no wonder that Emperor Wu Shuang didn't say anything and didn't help her. She was actually using their power to cultivate. What should they do now? Not only was there a crazy little girl who could understand life and death and could even use it to cultivate, but there was also an even more terrifying and angry Emperor Wu Shuang, who hadn't had a chance to fight for tens of thousands of years. Who wants to die first? Emperor Wu Shuang's attitude was absolutely contemptuous. He said indifferently, "Why don't you all come at me together?" Chapter 1354. Emperor Wu Shuang looked at Jizun. Jizun pondered for a moment. Her will would not change because of anyone. However, she had already seen some signs and felt that this was the path of destiny that Emperor Wu Shuang insisted on walking. Thus she nodded and said, "You are the senior, so I will let you fight first." "Thank you very much." Emperor Wu Shuang revealed a peerless and carefree smile. In an instant, the entire gloomy sky snake bridge was like the rising sun, breaking the dawn. He stretched out a giant hand. Slowly, he gathered his divine power. Unknowingly, his will had already permeated the entire balanced world and every molecule in the air. No matter who the enemy was, no matter where they were, whether they were hiding or not, it was useless. The Dead Sea fallen gods had a feeling that they had been locked on by the enemy. As long as this Emperor Wu Shuang made a move and used his ultimate move, they would be doomed. Any attempt to dodge or escape would be a joke. Seeing Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless and domineering fighting posture and his contemptuous attitude, the Dead Sea gods felt a deep pain in their hearts. Shocked, they showed up together. Working together. With the advantage of being in a group, they released their divine power together to fight against Emperor Wu Shuang. Dazzling, varied, grotesquely shaped thrones appeared behind these Dead Sea gods. The common characteristic of these thrones was that they were gorgeous. Each and every one of them was exquisite and unimaginably beautiful. However, Jizun noticed one thing. Although these thrones greatly enhanced their masters, they were not tolerated by the ancient will of the balanced world. Just like Shen Chongsheng, who was holding up the sky with one arm, the will of the divine mountain was constantly eroding and cleansing his divine body, making him suffer endless pain every minute and second. Jizun did not know if the Dead Sea gods who were enhanced by the thrones would be tortured by the ancient will, but she was sure that the ancient laws were expelling them. The speed was very slow, but Jizun could see it clearly. The ancient laws were melting the thrones of these fallen gods bit by bit. If not for the Dead Sea will behind these fallen gods, resisting the expulsion of the ancient laws, these thrones would have disintegrated even faster. No wonder the enemy did not dare to show the thrones easily. It turned out that in this balanced world, they were not tolerated by the laws. The leader of the Dead Sea camp's fallen god clan was an old man. His hair and beard were all white, but he had a youthful complexion. There was no sign of aging on his face. One could only feel that this person was blessed and had a long life. The old man wore ancient clothes from tens of thousands of years ago. In his right hand was a lifelike dragon erosion staff. It was not a god artifact, but it was even better than one. What surprised Jizun was that this divine staff was naturally formed from the legendary dragon corrosion divine wood. The corroding dragon divine wood was also recorded in the ancient secret history of Tong Tian Tower. It was a strange item that only existed in the upper realm. It may have been born from the poisonous saliva and blood that splashed out during the battle between the eastern evil dragons. It could repel poison and had an extremely beneficial effect. It was a very rare treasure in the heavenly realm. Of course, its greatest use was to slay dragons. Any dragon would be weakened by 10 times in front of it. Once it was injured, it would not be able to heal itself, and it might even produce a dragon plague that would make the dragon race pale at the mention of it. You know that my main beast is a dragon, so you deliberately used poisonous dragon saliva to breed it? Emperor Wu Shuang laughed out loud. Not only was he not affected, but his expression became even more contemptuous. Peerless, agree to start the battle between the god rays. Otherwise, this battle will be meaningless. The old man with the corroding dragon divine staff was the temporary leader of this group of Dead Sea gods. After a secret discussion with his companions, he was the first to step forward. From the top of his fallen grimoire that was shining with unparalleled radiance, a special divine light that was as light as a rainbow but had no destructive power flew toward Emperor Wu Shuang. I have waited for too long. This god war is late by tens of thousands of years. Emperor Wu Shuang summoned the unique dark gold grimoire and also shot out a ray of rainbow divine power to clash with the other party. But the divine power was neutralized. However, the decision of both sides to request for a battle had already been approved by the ancient code. The ancient code that suppressed the entire place just now temporarily dissipated and hid again. The ancient will vaguely drew an invisible circle in a large area as the battlefield for this life and death battle. Once the ancient code dissipated, the god thrones were no longer expelled. The expressions on the faces of the Dead Sea god race finally relaxed. Some of them even started to show off. With the god thrones, one would have unlimited battle power. Although Emperor Wu Shuang was very strong, if he couldn't kill him in one move, this battle would be a long and bitter one. The Dead Sea god race, who had the advantage in numbers and could use flexible tactics such as taking turns to fight, besieging, and so on, undoubtedly had the advantage. At the end of the battle, they might be able to suppress Emperor Wu Shuang. After all, no matter how strong he was only one person. As for that strange little girl, she didn't have an official god throne to protect her. Even if she participated in the battle, she wouldn't be a threat. This is the god throne? Jizun frowned slightly. Previously, she thought that all the god thrones were the same. Who would have thought that there would be so many changes? It was almost impossible to find any similarities between them. Emperor Wu Shuang, who was about to start the battle, suddenly stopped when he heard this. He said in a gentle voice, "As a senior, I have never done anything for the younger generation. Haha, speaking of which, I am a little ashamed. Since fate has begun, I have no more regrets. I might as well make an exception and tell you the secret of this god throne." Jizun was silent, but she saluted with her hands. This god throne was a secret among secrets. If it wasn't for the master and disciple, outsiders really wouldn't talk about it. Now that Emperor Wu Shuang, who was the peerless, did this, it could be said that he had broken a big rule. First of all, why can't the god throne be condensed by oneself? It must be created by a stronger superior or a master. Because this god throne is actually a threshold for the recognition of the god rank from above. When the standard is reached, it can be recognized. If not, then it is nothing. At the same time, it is also a door. Through it, through the god emblem as a recognition mark, the god rank can be allowed to enter a higher level world and a higher level space. For example, the world created by the divine supreme being's self-will or other wonderful and boundless space world. It is like the pass of the Tong Tian Tower, the bronze card, the silver card, the gold card and so on. No. It can't be like this. The certificate of the sky-reaching tower is just a tool that you low-level worlds use to scare people and make it convenient for management. It's completely different from the mysterious god throne. A tall and thin man from the Dead Sea god clan objected with a sharp voice. Let's listen to what he has to say first. There were also fallen gods like Qi Danzi, who were very interested in Emperor Wu Shuang's words. These were secrets that they had never heard before. Although they already had the god throne. But the secret behind it, they still didn't know. The god throne behind the tall and thin man was like a blade or a guillotine, rotating unceasingly. Although he didn't agree with Emperor Wu Shuang's words, he didn't receive any more support. On the contrary, Many fallen gods were more willing to listen to the secret from Emperor Wu Shuang's mouth first. The God Throne's function is indeed not only this. Just now I said that it is a standard. If it is far beyond its standard, then the God Throne is not called a God Throne anymore. In other words, it is not just a God Throne. It will be an eternal world created by the Divine Supreme Being's self-will and unique divine power. The world created by this God Throne is not the Grimoire world. The Grimoire world is actually created by the ancient great gods for us. They made a template for us. Only an eternal world created by ourselves is the real world. This is not something that ordinary people can achieve. Only divine level rankers at the level of the Divine Supreme Being can achieve it. As for whether there is a higher standard above that, I think it is for sure. But that is not something that I can find out. It is just like how we have heard of the existence of ancient great gods or immemorial great gods, but we have never seen them. Emperor Wu Shuang was sure of one thing. The Divine Supreme Being was the highest level of life that all living beings knew. Is there anyone who has started to condense a world before condensing the God Throne? Jizun thought for a while. A certain abnormal boy seemed to be like this. Impossible. The tall and thin divine level ranker screamed again. Shut up. Qi Danzi was listening with great interest. When he heard this guy objecting because of opposition, he couldn't help but scold him. I don't know either. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Even if there is, maybe such a person doesn't know that there is actually someone doing it for him. Otherwise, with the life of the Heaven Realm and Tong Tian Tower, it is impossible to complete it on their own. Constructing a world is definitely not a simple matter. Emperor Wu Shuang didn't mention it directly. TSK really? What's so difficult about constructing a world? Nonsense. The tall and thin divine level ranker sneered. It is very difficult to construct a world. Some divine level rankers are very arrogant and dare to say that they can form a world with a thought. Emperor Wu Shuang was amused. But that is just a piece of light from his divine power, a painting of void. Even if it looks like it is alive and gorgeous, it can't hide its fragility and inadequacy. That is not a world at all. It is just some beautiful bubbles. With a light touch, it will disappear instantly. The true world is eternal, even more eternal than this balanced world. No divine level expert can destroy or change it. As long as the master of that world, the Divine Supreme Being that created and constructed the entire world, and then used his will to manage it, only then can he do whatever he wants. Since it can only be achieved by the Divine Sovereign, let's not go into it for the time being. Can you talk about the Divine Throne? Jizun felt that there was no need to talk too much about the world. It was something that was beyond his power now. The Divine Throne is a pass and also a threshold. Emperor Wu Shuang nodded. It is almost the same as the connecting card of Tong Tian Tower. Just now you mentioned the bronze card and the silver card. Are there different standards for the Divine Throne? Jizun keenly noticed this. Yes. Emperor Wu Shuang's words shocked the Dead Sea God clan members who were eavesdropping. There were different standards for the Divine Throne? How was this possible? Wasn't the Divine Throne unique to an individual? How could there be different standards? Impossible. Before the tall and skinny divine level ranker could finish speaking, his companions glared at him. Everyone was having a good time listening to him. What are you doing here? If you don't say it now, who will know the truth? Emperor Wu Shuang paused. There are indeed different standards for the Divine Throne. However, it is not easy for people to know, including the divine level rankers who possess it. Generally speaking, the divine level rankers whose divine power light pillars are less than 10 meters and 100 meters are all within a rank called the Primary Divine Throne. There are some secret techniques in the heavenly realm, also called the Gorgeous Divine Throne, Brilliant Divine Throne, Holy Divine Throne, and so on. These are all words used to cover up the divine level. In fact, most of them are called the primary divine throne. Those that are more than 100 meters and less than 300 meters are called the high divine throne. Those that are more than 300 meters and less than 500 meters are called the high divine throne, and those that are less than 1,000 meters are called the primary divine throne. As for those that are more than 1,000 meters and more than 10,000 meters, they are called the high divine throne. Jizun was puzzled. Why is there only one standard for those that are more than 1,000 meters? Emperor Wu Shuang became solemn when he heard this, because the divine sovereign wants to create a world, not a divine throne. Even if he becomes an eternal divine throne, he is not willing to make the divine throne especially detached. Therefore, there is no difference between those that are more than 1,000 meters, at least in appearance, they are all high divine throne. For example, if the innate rankers of Tong Tian Tower burst out with their greatest power, they would not be able to live in the soaring dragon continent. In order to live a good life in the soaring dragon continent, even if they are innates, they will look like ordinary people. They will not make themselves so sacred and majestic that people will worship them at first sight. If the divine sovereign did that, he might not be able to live in his world, and the people living in his world would not be able to withstand that kind of deterrence. Therefore, the divine throne did not specifically surpass it. Anyway, it is just a door. It is enough to open a city gate to enter and exit. Which ordinary person would build a house as big as the radiant mountain and open a door that is tens of thousands of meters high to enter and exit? Understood. Jizun completely understood and nodded gratefully to this senior, who had cleared her doubts. If necessary, then tell this to some little guy. Maybe, he doesn't need my shallow understanding at all. Emperor Wu Shuang looked up to the sky and laughed. He definitely needs it. Jizun paused and suddenly asked, "This secret is a secret that cannot be revealed. What will be the consequences if you say it?" "I don't know, maybe it's a seal, maybe it's something else." The sun and moon in Emperor Wu Shuang's eyes shone brightly. "I have made up my mind to embark on my own path of destiny. Those things are not important anymore. Perhaps it's fate's arrangement for me, your senior, to give you this revelation. Otherwise, why would those old guys lock me up in the Black Tower for so long? Goodbye, little girl. To be able to get to know you is the honor of us martial artists. If possible, please stand at the top of the world and look down on everything. I, Emperor Wu Shuang, hope that you, the human Jizun who stands proudly in the world, can achieve the future that I, Emperor Wu Shuang, cannot achieve. Goodbye." Jizun paid her respects for the third time. She could already see that this senior had officially embarked on his journey of destiny. "Although I can't achieve eternity, I was once peerless, until today." Emperor Wu Shuang, the peerless, roared at the sky. His heroic roar shook the entire balanced world, and even the divine mountain and the Dead Sea trembled. Behind him, a flaming divine throne condensed from countless runes burned fiercely. Above his head, at the center of the intersection of the runes, an eternally burning primordial rune flickered in it. Behind the peerless emperor of the unparalleled world, the image of a heavenly dragon flashed. Its wings covered the sky and the sun. The majesty of the dragon's head caused many deity-level experts to feel fear, as if they were ants. The peerless emperor of the unparalleled world strode forward. He walked a path of fire, and his footprints were blazing. This path of destiny would be the final song of his life, and it was also his ultimate wish to move forward without any hesitation. Once this peerless man of the heaven-reaching tower exploded in anger, it would definitely bring about a lightning strike that even divine-level experts couldn't withstand. The future divine Jizun was still growing. At this moment, who in the world could stand shoulder to shoulder with him? There was only one man in the world who looked down on the world and was unparalleled. There was only one Emperor Wu Shuang, peerless. Chapter 1355. Attack. The white-haired old man with the eroding dragon's staff squinted his eyes like needles as he shouted. He knew that if he allowed Emperor Wu Shuang to make the first move, he believed that no one present would be able to withstand it. Only with the strength of a group and the advantage of numbers could they suppress this super expert who dominated the world. Everyone in the Dead Sea camp had the same mentality as him. Seeing that Emperor Wu Shuang was approaching, they immediately attacked in unison. Billions of rays of divine light burst out from all directions, just like the attack on Subtraction Life and the Bloody Flower. They covered the sky and the earth like a vast ocean. Damn it, these guys are always so despicable. Only Subtraction Life, who had faced the attack head-on, could truly understand the power of this group attack. Humph! Although Ji Zun was not moved, she was still sure of the strength of these fallen gods. They were indeed old ghosts who had lived for tens of thousands of years. Gathering the power of the group and supported by the god's throne, it was really, then how would Emperor Wu Shuang, who was striding towards the enemy, deal with it? Would he resist it head-on like Subtraction Life? Or would he avoid the attack head-on like Ji Zun and wait for an opportunity to attack? Not only Subtraction Life and Ji Zun were looking forward to it, even the fallen gods who were attacking the Dead Sea camp were curious. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Emperor Wu Shuang, who was peerless, casually stretched out an arm and raised one palm to block the attack. His actions and attitude were even lazier than an emperor meeting a rank 9 Sesame official. If not for the bad habits of Yu Clan's third young master, he might have yawned on the spot. Boom! All the divine power attack was concentrated on the palm. The divine light that filled the sky gathered at one point. Then, like a wisp of smoke, it disappeared. Nothing happened. There was no explosion, no storm, and no destruction. Emperor Wu Shuang's palm was as good as new. There was not even a scar on it. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Subtraction Life would have thought that he was dreaming. How was this possible? That kind of power that could destroy the heavens and the earth, that kind of terrifying attack that gathered the power of all the fallen gods, was blocked by Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless hand. Moreover, he didn't even use his full strength to resist it. He just casually stretched out his hand. Could this be Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless true strength? It was too terrifying. Although Subtraction Life was no longer an enemy of Emperor Peerless and was now standing at the peak of the Divine Mountain with one arm holding up the sky, he couldn't help but feel his legs turn to jelly when he saw this scene. Ji Zun's eyes lit up. She never would have thought that when this peerless being erupted, it would actually have such a tyrannical might that far exceeded her imagination. It wasn't that the enemy was too weak, it was that the peerless emperor was too strong. Besides, there was no other explanation. Impossible! The tall and skinny god shrieked in terror. At this moment, the faces of the Dead Sea God clan members beside him were filled with terror and disbelief. A concentrated attack, an ultimate move that takes form. The old man with the dragon erosion divine staff was the only god who still remained calm. He knew the peerless power of this Emperor Wu Shuang far better than others. If it wasn't for the fact that he was imprisoned in the Black Tower for tens of thousands of years, and his power wasn't at its peak, he really wouldn't dare to fight against the peerless. He also knew that the attack just now couldn't defeat the opponent at all. It was just a test, and the next killing move would be the real attack. Die! The Dead Sea God clan members, who were awakened, madly gathered a huge amount of divine power, no longer holding back to guard against their companions. They went all out. They attacked without holding back. Divine light once again rose up in the sky. However, this time, the divine light didn't disperse, and its power was far greater than before. What was even more terrifying was that every single divine-level expert had unleashed their own ultimate move. Divine spears, divine swords, or divine hammers appeared in the sky, and combined into one under their master's will. Finally, they formed a huge divine pillar that could tear apart everything in the world and devour any life, driven by the will of a dozen Dead Sea God clan members, and supported and guided by a dozen god thrones. It pierced through the sky with destructive power and monstrous, killing intent. It directly hit the chest of the peerless emperor. The Ji-Zun behind him didn't retreat, but he already released his divine power, condensing a shield of divine light that was like the gate of life and death to protect himself. It was merely an attack from a distance, and it wasn't even the target or the center of the attack, but it already forced the Ji-Zun to be on guard. This was the collective power that the Dead Sea God clan gathered after giving up their guard and cooperating tacitly. The peerless Emperor Wu Shuang stood proudly, unmoving like a mountain. He didn't have the slightest intention of dodging, and there wasn't a trace of concentration or seriousness on his face. On the contrary, the sun and moon in his eyes were still full of contempt. When the huge divine pillar that gathered millions of divine swords, divine spears, and divine hammers hit his chest, the peerless emperor reacted. He puffed out his chest and took the full attack of the enemy camp. At the same time, he wrapped his tiger arms around the huge divine pillar. Then, he faced the sky and let out a thunderous roar that shook the divine mountain, the Dead Sea, and the entire balanced world. At the same time, he violently and crazily twisted and crushed the huge divine pillar in his arms. The millions of divine swords, divine spears, and divine hammers were instantly turned into powder, vanishing into nothingness. Because of the irresistible divine power, the Dead Sea God clan's fallen God clan members all retreated. Those who couldn't withstand it fell to the ground repeatedly. Only 2 or 3 of them managed to stand firm. Among them, Scarlet Danzy, who stood behind the old man and didn't fall, felt his chest tighten, and he almost fainted. His strength wasn't as strong as his companions. For the sake of face, he forcefully held on and almost suffered a great loss. The other one who didn't fall was the tall and thin god-level expert. He was even weaker than Scarlet Danzy. After he stood firm, his expression changed greatly, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. What the f***ck? Subjugation Commoner swallowed his saliva with difficulty. His lips trembled, and he couldn't say a complete sentence to express what he was feeling at the moment. It wasn't that he hadn't seen geniuses before. Moreover, they were geniuses themselves. However, he really hadn't seen a peerless genius like the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang, who challenged the entire Dead Sea God clan with his own strength. Moreover, he was even under the joint attack of more than 10 god-level experts. No wonder the peerless guy dared to call Emperor Wu Shuang by such an awesome name. This guy was really too abnormal. He was 100 times stronger than he had imagined. Subjugation Commoner suddenly felt a sense of helplessness. It was really sad to be born in the same era as such a person. What was even more sad was that he had to wait for tens of thousands of years to truly understand this person's strength. Could it be that a genius like him was just an ant in the heaven realm? God, how could you let such a person be born in this world? What should we do now? What else can we do? Scarlet Danzy looked at the old man with the cane. If he could surrender, he would immediately do so. However, the current peerless Emperor Wu Shuang was clearly going to start a massacre. It was already too late to surrender now. Scarlet Danzy suddenly envied Subjugation Commoner, the only person in the Dead Sea who could be called a friend. Although that guy was stubborn, at least before he died, he received a love that others could only dream of, and he did something that he wouldn't regret even if he died. He held on to the pride of a warrior and risked his life to protect the enemy. He also held up the sky with his hands and promised to stand at the peak of the divine mountain for his lover. If he died like this, it wouldn't be a waste of his life in this world. However, what about himself? He stood on the opposite side of the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang and was about to become a sacrifice in the enemy's massacre. Now, he was still shamefully thinking of surrendering. How could the difference between them be so great? Scarlet Danzy's mind flashed, and he couldn't help but smile bitterly. He suddenly took a big step forward and faced the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang alone. He tried his best to calm himself down. Come, I know what will happen next. However, I am also a warrior, and I also have a warrior's pride. Although I don't want to die, my pride doesn't allow me to stand in the line and become a shameful member to be slaughtered. Peerless Emperor Wu Shuang, I want to fight you one-on-one, even if it's just one move. Get lost, Scarlet Danzy, you idiot. Hurry up and go back to sleep in the Dead Sea. Do you think this kind of mantis trying to stop a chariot is something you can do? Subjugation Commoner couldn't help but curse. I also want to be a hero. Scarlet Danzy was speechless. It wouldn't do for you to be a hero all by yourself. Have you figured it out? Heroes are not supposed to be like this. Subjugation Commoner was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. It wasn't easy to make a friend who didn't want him to be a big idiot. Just now you had the chance to be a hero, but you didn't step forward. Now, how could you be a hero? You're worse than a coward. Peerless Emperor Wu Shuang was about to start a massacre, but you didn't hide far away. Instead, you foolishly ran out and wanted to fight him one-on-one. One-on-one, Motherf ** cur. What kind of ability do you have? Be obedient like an ant and know your place. If the giant god wanted to start a war and slaughter, then don't come out to block the way. You could just quietly hide a little further away and everything would be fine. Now that you've come out to court death, you'll look like an ignorant clown if you get killed. Scarlet Danzy's mentality was different from Subjugation Commoner's. He felt that he was going to die anyway. If he hid in the line, he might die a little slower, but he would definitely die a sullen and insignificant death. Now that he stood out and challenged the Emperor to a duel, even if he couldn't win, he would still be able to live a good life. He was very regretful. If Subjugation Commoner had rebelled just now, if he had stood out together with him, then he would be standing on the peak of the Divine Mountain and supporting the sky together. That way, he would be able to die with his eyes closed. But now, he had missed the opportunity. If he didn't do something now, then he, a divine-level expert, would have lived his life in vain. In Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless eyes, there was no enemy, Scarlet Danzy. He was like a lion to a mouse's clamor for a duel. He didn't care. This kind of disregard stung Scarlet Danzy's heart. He rushed forward like an arrow, and his hands, which were supported by the divine throne, condensed a 10,000-meter-long divine sword and pierced the peerless heart. I'm going all out, even if I can't win. I'm going to charge at the enemy like a hero. Although I'm lowly, I'm also a warrior, and I'm also a divine-level expert who used to look down on the heaven realm. Seeing Scarlet Danzy going all out, the people of the Dead Sea God clan, who were supposed to work together against a common enemy, quietly retreated. Even that tall and thin divine-level expert turned into a divine light and escaped without a trace. Subjugation Commoner closed his eyes. He knew the strength of this friend. Not to mention fighting against Emperor Wu Shuang, there was also a gap between him and Scarlet Danzy. Jizun didn't even look at Scarlet Danzy. On the contrary, she looked in the direction of the Dead Sea in the distance, as if she wanted to lock on to the escaping enemy, and also seemed to be searching for other traces. Emperor Wu Shuang, the Peerless, still strode forward, ignoring Scarlet Danzy. When Scarlet Danzy's divine sword approached him, he raised his foot high and stomped heavily, directly shattering the divine sword. Scarlet Danzy, along with his divine throne, was stomped into the heavenly snake bridge. Come out, guardian of the Dead Sea, come out! Also, all the turtles who are sleeping inside, come out! Today is the doomsday of the Dead Sea fallen god clan, and also the end of the balanced world. Emperor Wu Shuang, the Peerless, strode forward. The people of the Dead Sea god clan, who were reckless and daring to start a divine war just now, couldn't help but retreat. Except for Scarlet Danzy, who was flattened by Emperor Wu Shuang's foot, no one else dared to face him head-on. Ridiculous! An extremely majestic and noble voice rang out from the distant end of the heavenly snake bridge. In the depths of the Dead Sea, a huge statue of a god, tens of thousands of meters tall, slowly stood up. He also strode forward, welcoming Emperor Wu Shuang, the peerless. The end of the balanced world must be the day when the divine mountain is flattened and the Dead Sea evaporates. How dare you, the peerless, defy the heavens and disturb the Dead Sea that I am guarding? You really overestimate yourself. Emperor Wu Shuang, the peerless, you are defying the heavens, and your death is coming. Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless killing intent soared into the sky. He looked at his opponent from afar, the sun and moon in his eyes shining as if they were new. My destiny is your end. It is also the end of the entire balanced world. It is even the end of the destiny battle of the Divine Supremes. Although you and I were the candidates of the previous generation, we both failed. Today, let me put an end to everything and restore the original correct direction. What right do you have? The huge statue of a god, tens of thousands of meters tall, shouted with incomparable majesty. Because I am Emperor Wu Shuang, the peerless. Chapter 1356. In the ancient passage, the endless space-time tunnel and the distorted space barrier made the Mo Long, who was determined to be a good boss, completely lost his way. The Mo Long's mood changed from being confident at the beginning, this is definitely the way, to being uncertain, this should be the way, I had just walked this path 100,000 years ago, to seemingly right but actually wrong. I didn't get the wrong direction, I clearly walked this path, to randomly choosing a direction. It doesn't matter which direction I go, it seems like there is only one destination, and finally to being extremely frustrated. Who can tell me how to walk this damned path? I've already had enough of these damned ancient passages. Why did they make it so complicated? Aren't they making things difficult for me? I haven't walked this path for 100,000 years. How could I remember it so clearly? I feel like I've walked in a circle? Yu Yang, who had also taken the space teleportation course in the academy, finally realized that something was wrong. Really? The space in the ancient passage is almost the same, there should be something similar. A certain boss said guiltily. But how do you explain the gold coin on this stone? Don't tell me that there was someone as suspicious as me in ancient times who left his gold coin as a mark along the way. Furthermore, the gold coin he left behind was exactly the same as mine. When Yu Yang picked up the gold coin, he suddenly realized that there was a picture of Hui Tai Lang roaring towards the sky on the coin. It was obvious that this was a limited edition commemorative coin of the world-exterminating demon wolf that the soaring dragon continent had specially made to commend Hui Tai Lang's efforts in protecting the continent during the Heaven Realm's invasion. Alright, I admit that I'm lost. I haven't walked this damned path for 100,000 years, how could I remember it so clearly? A certain boss tried his best to shirk responsibility. But I remember that you didn't say that at the beginning. Yu Yang remembered that this boss expression was very confident at that time. At that time, I would definitely find the way, it wasn't a difficult thing for me at all. The Mo Long was very depressed. He originally wanted to show off his might in front of this little brother that he hadn't completely subdued yet. Who would have thought that things would turn out like this? Yu Yang was also speechless. Big brother, we are in a critical situation right now. Can you be more serious? If you can't do it, you should have said so straight from the start. Everyone can think of another way. Now that you're halfway there, but you can't figure out the direction. Do you know how much of a blow it is to the young hearts of others? Back then, I mustered up my courage and used 10% of my trust to support you. Who would have thought that you would cruelly fail to live up to my expectations? Is there a boss like you? The mystic dragon slapped his forehead. Give me some time, let me think about it. I will definitely remember. Yu Yang suddenly felt that it was better to rely on himself than to rely on this fellow. This guy's brain might be made of muscles. Fighting was good, but other things would be fine. He remembered that the three little Lolas, creation, destruction, and eternity, had said that the longest record of the divine grimoire trial was set by this fellow. Being trapped in the endless world for 1,000,000 years, his intelligence was really quite high. Why don't I lead the way? Yu Yang now remembered that his teacher was a great sage of space teleportation. The only problem was that the space in Tong Tian Tower, especially in the soaring dragon continent, was incomparable to the complexity of the heaven realm, especially the ancient passage. In the soaring dragon continent, where there were only 2 or 3 main roads and small paths, Shui Donglu, that old fox, might be a teacher who was proficient in spatial manipulation. However, bringing his theories to the heaven realm, where there were thousands and thousands of intertwining passageways, to put it into practice. Furthermore, it was a practice that couldn't fail and had to succeed. It seemed a little too much. You lead the way? If you don't bring us back to the Guardian of Light, I will call you Big Brother. The mystic dragon was enraged. Although I can't remember the direction, it's still 10,000 times better than you. Then why are we still going around in circles? Yu Yang waved his hand weakly. Just go. What about you? The mystic dragon widened his eyes. I will wait here. Yu Yang took out a chicken drumstick and started eating. You will come back here in a while anyway. I'm so angry. You are too arrogant. You dare to look down on me? I have no choice but to show you. Watch carefully. The mystic dragon flew into a rage. He summoned a special beast called Void's Light Dragon, which only had a head and a body that was glowing with light. First, he placed a special rune on the head of the Void's Light Dragon. Then, he let go of it confidently. He let it fly away. Finally, he looked at Yu Yang and proudly raised his eyebrows. Did you see that? I will be able to find the correct path immediately. This is the Void's Light Dragon. It can pass through any space. Yu Yang almost vomited blood on the spot. Why didn't you use your beast earlier? If you want to show off your memory, at least find another time. The mystic dragon patted Yu Yang's shoulder heavily and lectured him sincerely. You are still too young, you don't know how to train. Only like me, at any time, at any place, do not forget to train yourself. You can turn pressure into motivation, and motivation into ability. This way you can continue to improve. Besides, I didn't go the wrong way just now. I just wanted to confuse the enemy. I purposely took a few detours to confuse the enemy and get rid of the pursuers. Look, that guardian elder of light was fooled by me, right? He couldn't predict my movements at all, so I easily got rid of him. The guy from another world felt that if he continued to boast, the heaven realm would burst. He hurriedly stopped him. All right, since we have already confused the enemy, let's hurry on our way. I feel a little uneasy staying here. Just as the boss, the mystic dragon, was about to make a big move. Just as he was about to give the order to set off, the Void's Light Dragon returned. It returned from the direction that its master and Yu Yang had gone. What's going on? The mystic dragon was stunned. Have we already entered the heaven realm corridor? Only in that place would people endlessly repeat the same path. But that's not right, we haven't deviated that far. Before I can still maintain my rationality and not strangle you to death, I think it's better for me to lead the way. What do you think? Yu Yang had already raised his hand. Idiot, I'm right. The mystic dragon suddenly shouted. You still have the cheek to say that? Yu Yang used his hand to strangle the mystic dragon's neck. An idiot like him should just die and reincarnate. Listen to me, I actually purposely took a detour to come here. The mystic dragon hurriedly explained. He was in the wrong now, so he had to swallow his anger. He patiently explained to Yu Yang. It's easy now that we're here. What is this place? The Heaven Realm Corridor, a place that even gods wouldn't be willing to come to. Don't strangle me, let me finish. It's precisely because no one is willing to come here that we are very safe. Safe my ass. Yu Yang decided not to believe a single word. Wait, there's another benefit to coming here. The mystic dragon saw his little brother's expression and was a little scared. No one can leave this heaven realm corridor. That's why no one comes here normally. Stop straining me, I'm serious. Coming here is the right thing to do. Coming here is the right thing to do. Yu Yang felt as if he had heard someone say that the moon was a square. Do you think I'm an idiot? Yes. Before the mystic dragon could finish, he suddenly realized that he was tied up by Yu Yang. Yu Yang decided to bury this guy alive. Strangling him to death would be too easy on him. F***ck. He actually said that coming here was the right thing to do. If he didn't bury him, then what was he waiting for? The mystic dragon was scared and shouted, I'm serious. Damn it, I've never told the truth many times in my life. Now that I'm telling the truth, you don't believe me. Yu Yang turned a deaf ear and continued to dig the hole. There's a god buried in the heaven realm corridor. Although he's not the legendary ancient god, he's almost there. Because when I was still playing with mud, this guy was already a mess of old age. Hearing the mystic dragon's words, Yu Yang immediately stopped and looked at him suspiciously. The mystic dragon realized that it was effective and quickly said, Coming here, we've found the right place. Let's wake him up and let him send us out. See, it'll save us a lot of trouble. Are you sure that the god won't be angry when we wake him up and slap us into meat paste? Yu Yang suspected another possibility. Nonsense, of course not. The mystic dragon said proudly, I'm very familiar with him, very familiar. Although we're not brothers, we're still friends, and very good friends. Are you sure they're friends? Yu Yang was surprised. This idiot also had friends in the heaven realm? This didn't make sense. It's a friendship as strong as steel. The mystic dragon patted his chest as a guarantee. Then hurry up. Yu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. Since they were friends and not enemies, even if he was angry, he wouldn't slap them. Okay, watch and see if I can wake him up with my divine power. Mo Long's actions didn't seem like he was trying to wake someone up. Instead, it seemed like he was trying to provoke someone and seek revenge. Yu Yang, who was watching from the side, felt a chill in his heart. Oh no, it seemed like he had been too careless and trusted the wrong guy. Now he could only hope that the god really had a friendship as strong as steel. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. After an unknown period of time. It seemed to be sleep-talking, but also seemed to be yawning. In any case, a sleepy voice came from the endless void, faintly passing into Yu Yang's ears. It's you guys again, can't you guys stop? Yu Yang blinked his big eyes. It's us again? We've been here before? The sleepy voice became a little more awake. Haven't you guys been walking in circles in my corridor for the past 3 days? It's fine if you guys are walking in circles in my house, but you're also making a ruckus and not letting others sleep. Isn't this too much? And Mystic Dragon, you fool, aren't you going to Tong Tian Tower? What are you doing here? We're going to Tong Tian Tower, but we're lost now. Why don't you do us a favor and give us a lift? The Mystic Dragon winked at Yu Yang, indicating that it was that simple. No. The god who had just woken up refused without hesitation. Why not? The Mystic Dragon was stunned. Because I'm not very familiar with you. The god who had just woken up directly exposed the Mystic Dragon's lie. Didn't you say that you have a steel-like friendship with him? Yu Yang was furious. You're not familiar with him, yet you dare to wake him up and even ask him to give you a lift. How thick-skinned and courageous do you have to be? Ha ha. Do you think that you'll have a steel-like friendship with a prisoner that you've only met twice 100,000 years ago and haven't seen for 100,000 years? Even if you do, 100,000 years is enough for the steel to be eroded. Seeing that we've known each other before, I won't blame you guys. Hurry up and leave. The god who had just woken up was preparing to go back to sleep. If you don't send us off, we'll keep arguing here until you can't sleep peacefully. The demon dragon was very angry. It's fine if we don't have a steel-like friendship, but do you have to laugh at me like this? I can't believe I still remember you after 100,000 years. Yu Yang was speechless. Do you look like a boss? You're like a scoundrel. All right, for the sake of sleep peacefully, I'll send you off. The god who had woken up was very helpless. His helplessness made Yu Yang feel the same. If it was Yu Yang, he would also not be willing to admit such a scoundrel as a friend, let alone talk about some *T steel-like friendship. We won't go back to Tong Tian Tower. There may be Tian Yu waiting there, so it's not safe. Send us to the Gate of Destiny. The demon dragon seized the opportunity to raise conditions. So troublesome. The awakened god stretched out a huge palm of 10,000 meters from the void and slowly pressed towards the demon dragon and Yu Yang. However, I think that it's useless no matter where you go. Moreover, even if you enter the Gate of Destiny, you will only be in more danger, because the Libra world inside is still being maintained, and the fate of the previous generation inside is not over yet. Unless you break fate and achieve flattening the divine mountain and evaporating the Dead Sea. Your destiny isn't completely in your hands. You can't solve everything with your own wisdom and courage. Senior, please dispel my doubts. Yu Yang only had time to shout this sentence before he felt the world spinning, and was instantly transported hundreds of millions of kilometers away. In his mind, indistinctly, came a trace of indistinct divine decree. Sacrifice. When Yu Yang's consciousness was fully awakened, he suddenly found himself standing in front of a huge gate of God that was about 300,000 meters tall and 200,000 meters wide. The demon dragon, who was standing beside him, clapped his hands happily. Aya, it's here. The place we are looking for is here. How is it, brat? You must have been scared by this ancient Gate of Destiny. Don't worry, with me, your boss, protecting you, I guarantee that everything will go smoothly. Yu Yang quietly took out a big hammer and kept it behind him. He asked with a smile on his face, "Who is the god who sent us here just now?" "His name is the Ancient One, the guardian god of the heaven realm. I don't know how long he has lived, but he should be a few 100,000 years old. He's an extremely lazy fellow who doesn't do anything all day long. His biggest hobby is to sleep in." The demon dragon was extremely arrogant now. He was beaming with joy as he said, "Brat, let me tell you, I've known him for more than 100,000 years. We're old friends. Didn't you see that he obediently sent us here with just a word from me? However, this fellow is becoming more and more like a big kid. He loves to tease people and also loves to joke around. Don't doubt me, I really have a steel-like friendship with him. What's with that look? Don't hit me, I really know him." Chapter 1357. Under the threat of Yu Yang's fist and oversized hammer, Mo Long, as the boss, finally recalled the secret to opening the ancient god's gate. It wasn't easy, especially under the supervision of a little brother who had zero patience and changed his attitude faster than flipping a book, digging out the memory of 100,000 years ago from his mind that had been barren for a long time. This difficulty was no less than digging out an unknown secret treasure under the eyes of the central shrine on the radiant mountain in the heaven realm. After the ancient god's gate was successfully opened, Mo Long became arrogant again and boasted to Yu Yang, "Look, it's open, it's really open. Do you think anyone can open the Gate of Destiny? No, it's impossible for ordinary people to open it. You must be a genius among geniuses. Someone like me. What's going on? Why is there a fight inside? Oh no, it's Emperor Wu Shuang, that guy is actually inside." The familiar divine aura scared the demon dragon. He didn't understand how Emperor Wu Shuang could be so smart that he could predict that he would bring Yu Yang here and deliberately set up an ambush here. Yu Yang was also shocked. Emperor Wu Shuang being here was not the most shocking thing. What surprised him the most was that there was someone who could fight against Emperor Wu Shuang behind this ancient god's gate. In his senses, there was a super expert whose divine power was even above that of Emperor Wu Shuang. He was madly urging his divine power to wreak havoc in the whole world. Are we really going in? Now it was Mo Long's turn to hesitate. He was worried that if he brought Yu Yang in, it would really create some kind of irreversible fate. After all, Emperor Wu Shuang was inside, and there was a powerful person who was at the same level as Emperor Wu Shuang. This was completely different from what he had expected. Yu Yang, on the other hand, calmed himself down and nodded resolutely. Since fate is here, then let's fight. Anyway, I have already decided that no matter what challenges and tests I encounter, I will do my best. My own fate must be in my own hands. No, there is also everyone's fate, the fate that everyone entrusted to me. I must control it in my own hands. Becoming the Holy Sovereign, freeing myself, freeing the fate of all living beings that follow me, this is my future goal. After entering the ancient God Gate, with the eyesight of the mystic dragon and Yu Yang, they were able to observe the intense battle from afar. It was a super-giant ultimate god that was at least 60,000 meters tall with 3 heads and 6 arms. It looked extremely majestic with the throne behind it rising like a heavenly fire. In addition, there was a ring of light under the feet of the super-giant ultimate god that looked like a raging sea of blood. Every time there was a wave, the entire world would feel like it was drowned in a sea of blood. Supergiant Ultimate God held 4 divine weapons in his hands and condensed 2 balls of inextinguishable divine light in his empty hands. One was red and the other was gold. These 2 balls of divine light were extraordinary. They were both eternal and indestructible existences. When Yu Yang saw this, he almost cried out in surprise. This was because these 2 balls of divine light that had been refined to the limit of their power were the 5-colored divine light that Yu Yang had painstakingly collected all this time but to no avail. To be precise, they were the red and gold of the 5-colored divine light. At first, Yu Yang had the green of the 5-colored divine light in his hands. After defeating the prison Emperor Divine Palace, he obtained the black light. Unfortunately, it was a fake. He searched hard until the mysterious man appeared in the trial world. Yu Yang fought to his limit and the mysterious man's strongest divine form was flattened by the giant fate. He had no choice but to hide his soul in the black of the 5-colored divine light before he could use it to escape. The others couldn't catch up to him, and only the Phoenix sisters managed to snatch the black light with great difficulty. Although Yu Yang had the second 5-colored divine light in his hands, he had never been able to exert the true power of the 5-colored divine light. Today, he was surprised to see the other form of the 5-colored divine light. It was an eternal and indestructible form of divine light. Its power, it was almost stimulated to the limit. Although there were only 2 lights and not the 5-colored divine light, it was still far beyond Yu Yang's knowledge and imagination. It can't be. What stunned the demon dragon was not the super-giant ultimate god nor the 5-colored divine light, but Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless. If the Guardian of Light had a huge divine body of 40,000 meters, then the enemy fighting with Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless was 60,000 meters tall and had transformed into a terrifying divine body with 3 heads and 6 arms. It was such an enemy that Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless could fight to a draw and was not at a disadvantage at all. How could the demon dragon not be shocked? Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless didn't change much from before except for an additional divine throne behind him. However, he could fight against strong enemies with supreme divine power. Not only was he frantically fighting against the 60,000-meter-tall supergiant ultimate god, there were also dozens of divine-level experts with divine bodies of more than 6,000 meters or even more than 10,000 meters beside him. They were besieging him with all their might. "Get out of my way!" Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless shouted. After the heavy fists collided and repelled the supergiant ultimate god, he raised his tiger arm and swept it across the battlefield with one hand. Those who touched it rolled and fell back. There was a divine-level expert about 8,000 meters who was not much shorter than Peerless. He retreated a little slower and was caught by Peerless and had his divine arm torn off. No one dared to step forward to rescue him. Even though they clearly knew that the fate of this captured deity-level expert would be the same as that of their fallen companions in the past, that his godhead would dissipate under the hands of the peerless expert and under his will, there was still no one who dared to take this risk and step forward to rescue him. Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless deliberately raised the divine-level expert above his head. In public, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he executed the enemy. He ignored the many strong enemies and wantonly tore off the enemy's arms, legs, and feet. Finally, he pressed the enemy's head and increased his divine power little by little. Everyone watched in horror. From afar. No one dared to approach. If you think that besieging me is effective against Peerless, then you can continue. He, as well as the divine-level experts who have fallen in my hands, will be your examples. Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless roared and his divine power erupted. Before the supergiant ultimate god's fist could reach him, he directly tore off the head of the divine-level expert in his hand. The supreme divine power directly annihilated the opponent's soul and destroyed the opponent's divine essence. The divine-level divine throne had not yet dissipated. The pure and vast divine power was suddenly restrained by a kind of will and law and frantically peeled off and extracted. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into black in a small black and white world, and became another kind of existence similar to the divine throne. Yu Yang's eyeballs almost fell out because he also saw the Supreme Master at the edge of the battlefield. She was using some special secret to attract the enemy's divine throne power that was about to dissipate. Every time Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless killed a divine throne, she absorbed a divine throne. Using this, she used black to create her own divine throne. Peerless, don't be arrogant. Your fate has been decided. When you flourish, you will fall. This is the place where you die. Supergiant Ultimate God ignored the divine-level experts around him being killed. He only focused on Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless. As long as he killed Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless, he would win the entire world and even the entire future. My fated return is also your end. Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless laughed and faced the enemy without giving in. Why are you here? And in such a dangerous place? Yu Yang rushed over immediately and stared at the slightly stunned Supreme Master with anger he had never felt before. On the other side, the demon dragon also stared angrily at the Supreme Master. You bastard, how dare you hold back when fighting with me? How dare you look down on me? Emperor Wu Shuang, if that's the case, then don't blame me for falling out with you. The demon dragon was ready to join the battle. His target was, of course, Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless, who was besieged by a group of enemies. Yu Yang was about to die from anger. Big brother, look at the situation now, can you stop making trouble? You can't even figure out who's the enemy and who's the friend. Do you know how to be the boss? Do you know that you'll tire everyone to death like this? Besides, even if Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless is not a good person, the other side doesn't look like a good person. Who are you going to help now? Even if you want to fight Emperor Wu Shuang's Peerless, you should pick a good time. Is it really appropriate to make a move now? I'm coming. The demon dragon was like a gambler who saw that he was missing 1 out of 3. His heart was itching. He transformed into a 10,000-meter tall divine body. With a thunderous roar, he joined the battle. The unstoppable fist passed through the god's throne and landed on the peerless emperor's back. With the addition of the demon dragon, many of the god-ranked experts hurriedly retreated. Although they didn't understand what was going on, everyone understood one fact, and that was that the guy who had just rushed over was definitely a lunatic. Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless took the heavy punch head-on. His tiger arm rotated and hit the demon dragon's chin. Without waiting for the demon dragon to fall, Emperor Wu Shuang's knee bent like a bow and kicked the demon dragon into the air. Supergiant Ultimate God saw the demon dragon's whole body smashing toward him. 6 arms flailed. 4 divine weapons and 2 balls of divine light all hit the demon dragon's body. Yu Yang covered his face and could not bear to watch anymore. He had seen fools before, but he had never seen one as stupid as him. Ouch! The demon dragon got up with a twisted face. Although he was seriously injured, it did not affect his movements at all. He angrily roared at Supergiant Ultimate God, "Don't think that you're so arrogant just because you're a little bigger and you can hit people at will. That's just fat. Do you think you can scare me? You can't even scare the kids over there, and you still have the nerve to show off. Stupid creature." Supergiant Ultimate God sent the screaming demon dragon flying with a punch and continued to launch a new round of attacks at Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless. "Are you okay?" Yu Yang found that the demon dragon seemed to be seriously injured. "It's just a small injury. What can you do to me?" When the demon dragon saw Yu Yang saw his embarrassment, he quickly jumped up and made a cool pose. "What a joke. I saw that he's a junior, so I deliberately let him have 2 moves. I don't want him to cry and go back to complain that I bullied the junior. Sister-in-law over there, stay away from Yu Yang. Don't accidentally hurt yourself." The sister-in-law in his last few sentences angered Ji Zun. Seeing Ji Zun's glare, the demon dragon suddenly remembered that this girl was different from others. He felt guilty and quickly laughed. "Then hurry up and bully him. I think this guy hasn't been beaten to tears for a long time. You have to give him a memorable experience." Yu Yang pointed at Supergiant Ultimate God. His words were like putting his boss on a bonfire. "That's what you said. If I really use my ultimate move and break this world, won't you blame me?" When the demon dragon heard that, he didn't feel cheated and was excited. "I won't blame you. If it's really broken, I'll be responsible for repairing it." Yu Yang felt that if his boss really had the ability to defeat the enemy, the result would definitely be 100 times better than the current situation, no matter how bad it was. "Well, you're the future great master. You have to keep your word." The demon dragon bowed his head, stretched out a finger, and pointed at Yu Yang. "Hey, in the name of the great master, you said to unseal and use your strongest move." Yu Yang was stunned. "It's easy to use your strongest move, but are you sure your brain hasn't been damaged by the enemy? Does it really make sense to do that? This young master doesn't even know what unsealing is, okay." Although he was complaining in his heart that his boss was unreliable. Seeing that he needed to do that, he also cooperated and released his strongest sword energy that pierced the demon dragon's forehead. Chapter 1358. The Sword Aura Soared to the Sky. The demonic dragon bathed in the sword aura. He let out a heart-wrenching scream and collapsed. Yu Yang suddenly felt dizzy. He was puzzled. "Big brother, if you can't stand the sword aura, why do you have to suffer like this? You even said you're going to use your strongest move. What are you doing?" However, on second thought, although the demonic dragon was not very reliable, it was not to the extent where he could not even withstand one of his own sword. Previously, he fought with the Peerless until he was covered in wounds and fought with the guardian divinity of light. His body was severely injured and he was exhausted from the fight, but he did not make a sound. Why was he behaving like this now? What the hell happened? The demonic dragon, who was rolling on the ground in pain, could not even hide his original form. he transformed into an angry dragon and crazily vomited blood. Dragon blood spurted out. Black ink splattered all over the sky and the ground. The fallen gods of the Dead Sea, who were besieging Emperor Wu Shuang from afar, saw this enraged dragon form. All of them cried out in fear, "It's the demonic dragon! That lunatic has actually escaped." No, wait, wasn't he imprisoned by the supreme dragon god forever? Stay away from him. This guy is an immortal dragon from the Eastern clan. There's no point in fighting him. Is the supreme dragon god going to return to the heavenly realm? It's too scary. Even this place is no longer safe. What should we do now? Continue to besiege the peerless in vain? Continue. Ignore the demonic dragon and continue to besiege the peerless. If the guardian divinity is defeated, all of us will die. We will all be slaughtered by the peerless. Our fate is already closely linked to the Dead Sea. There is no other choice. Fight, continue to fight, for our fate, for our future. The battle over there was in full swing. Over here, Yu Yang saw the demonic dragon's long body twisting like a dead snake and spitting out black blood from his huge mouth from time to time. Just when Yu Yang thought that this fellow was going to vomit blood and die, the raging dragon's twisted body and shiny black scales gradually emitted a black light, slowly fading into a dark gold color. Especially the dragon horns on its forehead, as well as a pair of huge dragon eyes, were even more dazzling with golden light. Light returned to the mystic dragon's eyes. The aura that had been on the brink of death erupted and increased by billions of times. Reincarnation from death. In just a few minutes, it was so fast that Yu Yang couldn't believe it. I feel much better now. The mystic dragon, who was in the form of a raging dragon, gradually returned to his human form. He slumped in front of Yu Yang and said weakly, "Is there any tonic like God's blood? Give me some." Yu Yang shook his head. Of course there was God's blood, but to get it from Yu Yang would be more difficult than defeating Tianyu. The mystic dragon had no choice but to lower his request. "If you don't have God's blood, give me a mouthful of God's dew. Bastard, I have lost too much blood and am dying of thirst. How can I fight if I don't recover?" Fine, I owe you a cup now. I'll pay you back 1 cup after this. 2 cups, I'll pay you back 2 cups. You bastard, you're still talking about interest now. You miser, are you even human? Take note, you are a boss, don't be a rascal. Of course, Yu Yang had plenty of God's dew. If he wanted to drink 1 cup and return 2 cups, then lending him a cup should not be a problem. However, he seriously doubted the character of a certain boss. "Of course, do I look like someone who doesn't return debts?" The mystic dragon took the cup and drank it in 1 gulp. "You don't look like one, you are." Yu Yang was very worried that his God's dew would never return. "Now that I have been officially resurrected, your good days are over." The mystic dragon jumped up and burst out with his 10,000-meter-long divine body. He once again rushed towards Peerless Emperor with the same punch. 1 punch sent Peerless Emperor flying, and another punch sent Supergiant Ultimate God flying. Yu Yang's eyeballs almost popped out as he exclaimed, "This is not scientific." He was half dead just now, but after drinking a cup of God's dew, he activated his little universe and fought against a strong enemy. Was a cup of God's dew really that effective? This could not be explained with common sense at all. He should have unlocked the shackles of the laws. Although he has not recovered to his peak, he can already release his true power smoothly. Ji Zun understood. "But I didn't do anything." Yu Yang looked at his hand. "It was just a casual sword attack. Maybe he used your future to take advantage of a loophole." Ji Zun guessed so. "That's not right either." Yu Yang still couldn't believe it. He didn't do anything, and there was no law produced just now. The sword energy didn't unseal anything, he didn't use the power of fate, he didn't bear any burden or receive any revelation. In short, he didn't do anything. How was this possible? Besides, it was impossible for an unsealed mystic dragon to recover just by drinking a cup of God's dew. Could it be that this boss faked his death and cheated him of the God's dew? The paranoid man from another world was letting his imagination run wild. What are you doing here? Jizun didn't care about that at all. She just looked at Yu Yang strangely. I should be the one asking you this question. What are you doing here? Do you know how dangerous this is? How could you sneak into such a dangerous place without letting anyone know? This is outrageous. The more Yu Yang spoke, the angrier he became. It was as if he was blaming Jizun, but under Jizun's gaze, his voice became weaker and weaker. In the end, he said, everyone was very worried about you. Are you alright? Other than those three fellows, do you think there will be any problems? Jizun looked down at everyone, as if there was no one else around. So many powerful people. Yu Yang saw that there were more than 10 God-ranked experts with divine thrones here, and the number was close to 100. Even in this kind of situation, Jizun actually said that there was no problem. This was really something that he couldn't agree with. You stood so close to the front, did no one attack you? He really suspected that those fellows in front of him were blind. Yes, Jizun said casually, but after killing a few, they stopped. Yu Yang was speechless. Sure enough, this world was a world where the strong were respected. Whoever had the bigger fist was the boss. After fighting for a long time, while the mystic dragon was fighting with the guardian deity of the Dead Sea, Emperor Wu Shuang caught another divine-level ranker who had unfortunately fallen behind during the siege. Emperor Wu Shuang was determined to carry out a massacre. Under his will, there was no forgiveness or tolerance, only killing and destruction. He mercilessly tore apart the opponent's divine body and used his divine power to annihilate the opponent's divine deity and soul. That feeling. It was like a lion tearing apart a chick. Yu Yang's jaw dropped to the ground. Damn, isn't this Emperor Wu Shuang a little too awesome? Fortunately, it wasn't the boss he wanted to fight. Otherwise, even if he cultivated for 1,000 years, it would be useless. Speaking of which, between Emperor Wu Shuang and Jizun of the Divine Palace, who was stronger? Could the guy over there, who was 60,000 meters tall and had 3 heads and 6 arms, be Tianyu? Jizun took the opportunity to absorb the dissipating power of the opponent's divine throne and transformed it into the black and white divine throne that she was still condensing. Are you condensing a divine throne? Yu Yang asked weakly. Don't you need others to help you condense a divine throne? Someone left me a divine emblem at the 1,000,000th step. I want to use it to make my own lesser divine throne. Of course, the real greater divine throne will still be completed by others. Previously, there was a divine message that told me part of the truth. Now, I just need to complete this lesser divine throne that belongs to me. When Jizun said this, Yu Yang felt extremely inferior. Even if it was a lesser divine throne, if he could make it himself, he would still be extremely arrogant. Besides, if Jizun had a divine message, why didn't he have any divine message? Could it be that the heavenly sword goddess had forgotten about him? No, she must be in closed-door training right now and doesn't know the situation outside. It must be like that. Yu Yang was very envious. After looking at it for a long time, he realized that he couldn't understand this divine throne at all. It was too complicated, so he asked, "What divine throne is this?" "Sovereign divine throne." Jizun told him very honestly, "This is what I comprehended in the gate of life and death. Under Jizun's will, I can control all life and death. For example, on this battlefield, no matter who changes between life and death, from life to death, from death to life, they will all be under my divine throne. Right now, I haven't completed it yet, so I can only absorb the divine power of those who died in battle. I want one too." Yu Yang almost drooled when he heard this. "You don't have the foundation to achieve it, and you don't have the divine emblem to achieve this kind of divine throne. Ji Zun bluntly attacked him. Who gave you the divine emblem? I don't have one? Yu Yang remembered that he had also reached the million step, although he was pulled up by Ji Zun with the laws. You want to know? Ji Zun stared at Yu Yang. Seeing this kid's anxious expression, a smile appeared in her bright eyes. This is a secret I can't tell you. Also, if you want to become a divine throne, you must first think about how to move my heart. For example, someone did something with a shameless goddess that he thought was a secret, which made me very angry. Ji Zun was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. When Yu Yang heard this, he knew that it was over. He had already said that he shouldn't go too far and that he shouldn't fantasize about Ji Zun while doing something. However, the Phantom Moon Goddess said that it was fine and even took his hand and secretly touched it. Now it was all over. Just as Yu Yang was thinking about what he should do to atone for his sins, he suddenly saw the demon dragon being punched away by Super Giant Ultimate God and smashed in front of him. The demon dragon's first little universe punch exploded. Emperor Peerless and Super Giant Ultimate God did not accurately estimate it, so he succeeded. Now it was not very useful. So, the boss immediately shouted at Yu Yang, "You're still looking? Hurry up and do it. Look at the situation now, and you're still talking about love here. Can't you guys talk slowly in bed when you go back? I don't have time for that now. Do it?" Yu Yang looked at the 60,000-meter tall Super Giant Ultimate God and couldn't help but shrink his neck. I'm not stupid. You can't fight the big monsters, but you can fight the small monsters. The demon dragon was angry. The ground was full of small monsters, you can just fight any one of them. Standing on the side of the battlefield and watching others fight to death while you chat with a beauty so leisurely, you will be punished by heaven. So many. Yu Yang found that there were at least 90 small monsters here, if not 100. Each of them had a divine throne, and the shortest one was more than 6,000 meters. F***CK. Are these still small monsters? Ji Zun originally wanted to fight the small monsters, but she was angered by the demon dragon's words just now. She decided to stand by and watch for a while, waiting for this guy to be tortured. She did not move, so Yu Yang followed closely behind. As for brothers, boss, loyalty, and steely friendship, they were all fleeting clouds in front of a beauty. Moreover, this was an angry Ji Zun, so he had to pretend to be a good boy. Yu Yang looked around and flashed to the top of the divine mountain. He said to the seriously injured subjugating Chang Xing, who was struggling to hold the sky with one arm, "This small monster looks like it's easy to bully, why don't I beat him up?" The demon dragon was so angry that he almost vomited blood. "Beat him to death, why don't you carry the sky? If no one carries the sky, the gate of destiny will close, and it might even alarm the sleeping great god of ancient times. At that time, everyone will be finished, and it doesn't matter who is right or wrong. I don't want to stay in prison anymore, especially the kind of prison where I have to stay for 100,000 years. Yu Yang was curious and asked subjugating Chang Xing, "One look and I can tell that you don't look like a good person, why are you so kind as to come here and carry the sky for everyone?" Subjugating Chang Xing laughed bitterly. "This sentence is as long as a piece of cloth." The guy shook his head and waved his hands. "Then don't say it." He belonged to the type of person who doesn't see for too long, doesn't listen to too much. He didn't have the patience to go straight to the point. If he beat around the bush, who knew if he would let people go around in circles? Just like that, the guy from another world put aside the depressed, subjugating Chang Xing and looked at Qi Danzi, who was lying on the ground not far from subjugating Chang Xing's feet. His body looked as if it had been run over by 100,000 mammoths. "What about you? One look and I can tell that you are not a good person, so why did you come to this divine mountain to enjoy the sauna bath?" Qi Danzi didn't know what the sauna bath was, but he understood the meaning. He laughed. I was stepped on by a peerless expert. I can't live anymore, and I don't want to live anymore, so I came here. Yu Yang made a fuss out of nothing. Stepped on by a peerless expert? Then you are walking too carelessly. How can you just run around randomly? This is very dangerous. Are you saying that I was wrong? Qi Danzi had never thought that he would be stepped on by a person. So it turned out that he was wrong. Do you think you are right? Yu Yang criticized him as if it was a matter of course. That's right, I thought that as a bad person I could do some wrong things. I didn't expect. Qi Danzi felt a little depressed. As a bad person, you didn't reflect on yourself properly, but still ran around randomly and did wrong things. This is even more wrong. Yu Yang reminded him, since you are going to die soon, do you have anything left? If you don't even have a single divine equipment, then you are a failure as a person. Wouldn't that be a waste of your life? I even think that the divine equipment choosing its master, choosing you as its master, is not right at all. You mean to choose someone like you? Qi Danzi now understood Yu Yang's meaning a little. I think that even without comparison it should be very clear. Look at you, you're lying here waiting for your death, while I'm standing here alive and kicking. You're an old man who can't do anything right, but is good at spoiling things. I'm still young and smart, and everything goes according to plan. If you had even the slightest sense of inferiority and self-awareness, I think you would immediately take out the divine weapon and force it into my hands. Even if I sternly refuse, you would still insist on giving it to me. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to die in peace. When Yu Yang said this, Qi Danzi almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Fuck. After talking for so long, it turns out that you want my divine equipment. It's not that I haven't seen shameless people before, but I have never seen such a shameless person. This brat, why didn't the heavens strike him with lightning? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.